And good morning. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. It's Friday, so Pressbox's Chief Graham Poobah, Stan the Fan Charles is in studio with us. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, guys. Good morning.
A lot to discuss today. Obviously, a lot of snubs related to the Ravens last night. Lamar Jackson losing out on a third MVP award by a very slim margin to Josh Allen. Neither Terrell Suggs nor Marshall Yanda being selected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame in what is one of the weirder classes that I've ever. Here's four guys.
Sterling Sharp got in.
Who's going in?
Jared Allen's going. All of the Allens. It was a good year to be an Allen. Jared Allen.
My brother's named Allen.
Unfortunately,
Allen Charles.
He came up a little bit short.
Next year, maybe.
Jared Allen, who it's fine. But
Yeah.
All right, we'll talk about it later. Eric Allen's going in because he was about to run up of eligibility, so they just said, let's put Eric Allen in this year. And
his last name's Allen.
Again, it's the year of the Allen.
Yeah.
Antonio Gates, who no one argues with whatsoever.
Right.
Like, of this class, there is no debating that Antonio Gates is a Hall of Famer. That one, like of all of the ones that were getting worked up about, certainly not the guy to flip about and lose your mind. Sterling Sharp's going in, but he's going in from the Veterans Committee, so that one kind of doesn't count. Who was the other one? Who did I forget about? There's a fourth. Who's the fourth?
He's memorable.
Yeah, right? Who did I forget about?
I don't know.
There's a fourth guy. I know there is. What the hell happened? Why am I blanking on the Hall of Fame out of nowhere? Anyway, it's not Terrell Suggs and Marshall Yanda. That's what I know.
Okay.
That's all I can tell you. So that's what it is. I got nothing else. All anybody's talking about is who didn't get in. That just was like, oh no, they didn't. They only put three in. They only put three in from the regular group, and then Sterling Sharp. Wow. Anyway, we'll talk about it. And then, of course, Maryland loses last night on the road at Ohio State. Just a super pleasant evening. Although Towson won. We got that going for us. They won their 9th straight.
And the underhit, so that was good.
That is important. Everybody was talking about that. Everybody was saying that's what matters most.
Maybe they're ready for a deep run in the NCAA.
They're gonna be the team that they're gonna run to the Final Four. Coming up on the program this morning in a few minutes, we're going to talk more about Maryland's loss. Former Maryland point guard Eric Hayes will join us. I was following him on Twitter last night. He was venting some frustration. I want to talk to him about, one of the things that jumped out at me last night is we've talked about how it's a luxury for Maryland to be able to count on any of the 5 guys in their starting lineup to be the guy on a particular night. But last night was one of those nights where I wondered if you're just better off having someone who knows when things start to go wrong, it's my show now. Now everything goes through me. And it felt like Derek Queen wanted to be that guy, and it was not his night to be that guy. I
got to be honest. I've watched him closely since Kevin Willard pronounced him. He's definitely one and done.
Well, he definitely is, no matter what.
I know, but he is.
I hear you.
He is not close to being NBA ready, and I know that whole spiel about they draft potential.
That's what they do.
I'd be watching him very carefully. His burst is no longer. He's still got terrific moves, but to me, his body movements are slow enough that so many times he never even gets shots off now.
Well, we saw that when the shot clock expired last night. They came out to defend him in the final 2 minutes.
I'm talking when he makes his move to the basket and gets around people and goes up. His whole body movement is not dynamic enough and quick enough, in my estimation. I hardly put myself out there as a scouting expert, but I have not liked what I've seen out of him the last 6-7 games.
I think there's been a lot of that, but inevitably this is the way that the process works, and the NBA says you're big and you can stretch, and okay, we'll take you. And so it would be still wildly unlikely for it to be anything other than that. But it is also the age of it. Maybe somebody, as I said, maybe
also,
somebody wants to pay him $10 million to stay at Maryland.
I've also heard that if he does come back, he very likely could transfer.
Well, if somebody wants to pay that amount of money, that's it always works this way. Any of these guys are available. They're all available.
What's he making this year? $1 million?
At least $1 million.
Right.
All these guys are available every year.
Right.
Washington will have to replace Great Osborne.
Right. And they paid him what?
And Reese
the most of anyone.
Reese is now coming back.
Well,
there's talk about it.
There's talk that the NCAA could extend
his eligibility.
Everyone's eligibility. Their NCAA is moving towards just giving you 5 years of eligibility. That is something that the NCAA has openly discussed, that they are moving towards everyone gets 5 years of eligibility. If they do that, then these players that didn't get 5 years of eligibility, they're going to look at what everybody's doing with and they're going to say, well, I'm going to sue. And so the NCAA might just say, for right now, let's keep extending 5 years of eligibility until we figure out if this is the norm moving forward.
Okay.
And it's bizarro world. As I said before, if that's their way of saying we're not doing transfers, we're not doing, 3 games, then take a medical red shirt, like you get 5 years from when you start to when you end, whatever you do in that time period, that's your college time, then I would actually be in favor. But it's the NCAA, so I assume they'll get it wrong. Anyway, we'll talk about it with Eric Hayes. Peter Schmuck will join us a little bit later on.
What time's he coming?
Yeah, I know you want to get at it. You're
11.
With that guy.
He's coming. I got to leave at 10:59.
Right.
Okay.
Schmuck wrote something for BaltimoreBaseball.com about what
Schmuck.
the Orioles naysayers have right. So we'll talk to him about that. And also this morning, our friend Paul Cantabene, Stevenson, Lacrosse coach, will join us to preview their season, which gets underway a little bit later on this evening. So all that coming up on the program today. Today's show is brought to you by the CIAA Tournament.
That's right. Baltimore is welcoming the excitement of the Food Lion CIAA men's and women's basketball tournament back to CFG Bank Arena. Again, here in Baltimore, February 25th through March 1st. Get your tickets now. They are available at Ticketmaster.com. Again, Ticketmaster.com for your tickets to the Food Lion CIAA men's and women's basketball tournament at CFG Bank Arena, February 25th through March 1st.
The other things that jumped out at me from last night watching the Maryland game, and again, we'll talk more about it with Eric Hayes. I did have that feeling of like this team could use a singular alpha when things start going wrong. As I said, Derek Queen seemed to want to be the guy, and he wasn't the guy. Like it's not just that he's a freshman. It's not just the point that he struggled a little bit. It's that he wasn't making a free throw last night, and they could tell that, and they were happy to make him pay for that. Jacoby Gillespie would seemingly be the best choice to be that guy, but I don't know if that's just not the way that he wants to play, that he says, I'm not that. I don't know. But it seemed like they needed that when things went wrong. The two things that are really frustrating, one, is that you give up the game winners a banked-in 3. Like, that's I was trying to figure out, like, what the comparison to that. That's like giving up a tipped Hail Mary for a touchdown at the end of the game. Like
when he threw that shot up, I said, "Oh, great, this isn't going in."
Yeah. They forced into a bad shot that was nowhere close, and you see how it plays out. Then after that, look, I don't know that Kevin Willard had a great night, but I know that he drew up 2 plays that both worked. Like the design of the play that got Gillespie the look for 3 was kind of brilliant because you had to draw up a play that would elude them being able to foul and prevent you from getting a look at 3. That was one of the coolest designs. The thing started on the baseline by the extra pass on the baseline to get Jacoby Gillespie free and get him a look at 3.
And give you a second look at 3.
And then at the end, obviously, coming off the curl, it was pretty close to 5 seconds. I was a little stunned that's one of those. I always
they just let it go.
I always feel like in those moments, officials are like, dude, we're not ending the game like this. You can have 8. We're not ending the game like this. It's not going to go that way.
That key possession, though, was where they didn't get a shot on.
Well, the shot clock violation was killer. It was
terrible.
absolutely killer.
Terrible.
And the ball died with Derek Queen. It did. And they came out and defended him. They extended to him. He clearly wanted to shoot from the outside, which, again, is not – that's not what you should be working for there. It was, ugh. They look lost. This is the story. As much as we were excited about the wins at Illinois and Indiana, I did not know that it suddenly meant this was going to be a great road team as much as it was a good week where they got the right results on the road. And so we'll see what happens moving forward with that. As far as NFL honors are concerned.
Some honors.
I'm going to start with the MVP thing because there were two things that jumped out at me about it. The first is it's okay to say that this inherently they did get it wrong, but it's also not the end of the world. As we've said a million times, Lamar Jackson's got 2 MVPs, and how does that make you feel at the end of the year when the Ravens don't win the Super Bowl? Like none of us are saying, "Oh, good, look, hang the banner, throw the parade." So they get to experience what that feels like now in Buffalo, which is it feels empty as hell. Cool.
I'm sure they're so thrilled that Josh Allen's got the MVP.
Totally makes up for everything that you get the MVP. So I can't get all that worked up about it because I can't get all that. There's one thing. The first one was cool. The first one really was cool. It was a recognition that you have a game-changing, eternal, completely different quarterback. But we know that. A third one's not going to change that. Was it Drew? I can't believe I'm going to give Drew credit for something. I believe it.
Drew Forrester?
Yeah, I know.
Getting credit.
Yeah, I know.
Well, hold on. We're not even sure, so don't get ahead of yourself.
Drew came in here a few weeks ago and said, you know what the real problem is that they call it most valuable player. Because what happens is exactly what happened last night. A handful of voters get lost in the sauce and say, well, how do we define valuable? And decide that someone is more deserving of an award because we think these players that are around him are better than these players that are around him. This is why the Heisman Trophy works. It's just supposed to be for the best player. That's it. There's no... It's the minutia of, I like Zay Flowers more than I like Khalil Shakir. It's not about anything other than that player. Who was the best player? And last night, despite the fact that the exact same voters voted for Lamar Jackson overwhelmingly to be the first-team All-Pro quarterback, a handful of them then said, but if I really got into the minutia about the word valuable, I think the Bills' talent isn't as good as the Ravens'
I want to be clear. They voted on this well before the
playoffs,
Bills
correct.
played the...
Nothing to do with that
I just wanted to have nothing to do with the playoffs.
They voted before the playoffs began.
Right.
The ballots are due, I believe it's the Tuesday before the playoffs begin.
Right.
So that's either one of two things happened. Either a group of people said, I know he was better, but he's already won 2 and I want Josh Allen to win 1, or they said, we're going to try to define what the word valuable means and we think that this team has more talent than the other team. Whatever it is, that's their right. Everybody gets a vote. That's the way that it works. I don't care. I don't personally care because, again, the Ravens haven't won a Super Bowl. That's what I care about, is winning a Super Bowl. But I still think they got it wrong. I do, inherently, which I think that they know because they voted for the other guy to be the first-team All-Pro quarterback. They know who the better quarterback was. They just decided to get lost in the sauce of either the voter fatigue or the word valuable. And it's kind of...
That Drew Forrester is a smart dude.
I know. We're not going to say things like that. That's something we're definitely not going to do. But he is right about this. If your top honor, the top honor that you have, is one that will be defined by who are the players that are around you, then it's a worthless honor. It just doesn't... Let's just pick the worst team and give their best player an honor every year, right? Why not make Brian Thomas the MVP of the league? He's the best player on a bad team. It's not. It doesn't mean the same thing. Who's the best player in the league this year? Lamar Jackson was the best player in the league, kind of period bar none. He was the best player in the league. This is It's fine. It's fine. This is.
So I feel like there's as strong of a case for Jaden Daniels as MVP as Josh Allen. Like,
Yeah, if that's what it's about for you.
Yeah,
if it's
if
about
it's about the best
if it's
player,
about the quality
yeah.
of. By the way, that to me was also probably the more. I can't believe that Kevin O'Connell was Coach of the Year over Dan Quinn. Like, have you heard of the Washington? Like, it's the most moribund, awful football franchise that has ever existed. I am kind of stunned that like there was so much for Kevin O'Connell, and maybe some of that is we all kind of watched that flame out a little bit. I don't know. I was a little bit stunned by the fact that Kevin O'Connell was Coach of the Year over Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn to me was kind of like a
that's voted on before the playoffs, though.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. I don't know, man.
But
I'm not.
I'm not exercised by any of that stuff. It doesn't get me pissed off one way or the other. It really doesn't.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't get me pissed off.
Well, this year got me closer to that.
Why?
I mean, like not caring.
Oh.
Yeah. Like now that I know that this, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I mean, that's the part that I just keep
doesn't
coming.
matter.
You can't get me to. Do you think they care about MVPs in Kansas City? You think anybody in Kansas City is waking up today like, I can't believe they.
Patrick
how,
Mahomes,
how dare they continue to disrespect Patrick Mahomes? Or they just laugh at it.
No, they're busy going to a Super Bowl.
Right? Like, okay, y'all can have your awards. You go right ahead. Yeah. Have your awards. And to the point, Lamar Jackson, this is the one problem, that we have defined players using the MVP award. We have. Like, it's the first thing that we go to. We say, well, this player was a 3-time MVP and a 3-time Super Bowl champion. We do use MVP. Super Bowl for quarterbacks is the first one. The first thing that we use for quarterbacks, although, ironically, Eli Manning didn't get into the Hall of Fame last night, despite the fact that that's the only thing that he has to define him, and maybe that's the reason. But we do still use things like MVP to define it. But Lamar's got to. Every player...
He's got those Heineken commercials.
Who, Eli?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he's always got that, I guess. He's got that going for him. Every player with 2 MVPs is in the Hall of Fame.
Is it Heineken or was it Dos Equis?
I don't remember. Oh, it was Dos Equis, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Dos Equis. Every player with multiple MVP awards has gone into the Hall of Fame. Lamar Jackson, the MVP award thing is no longer important for defining Lamar Jackson's legacy. There's one thing that matters for defining Lamar Jackson's legacy. That's it. That one thing is the thing that he's got to do. And the Ravens have to figure out how they're going to do it somehow, and we will see. That's all I can give you. We will see. I don't think there was anything else that was terribly controversial as far as
Joe Burrow won comeback player of the year.
Yeah, people wanted it to be Sam Darnold. This is the thing that
J.K. Dobbins probably had a strong case.
Well, it's the strong.
Who got the comeback? Who got the comeback?
If he didn't
Joe
get
Burrow.
hurt. Yeah, Joe Burrow.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have forgotten how serious the injury was for Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I guess.
Like, I think a lot of people had kind of forgot. I think because we're just so used to Joe Burrow being hurt.
Right.
It's just kind of part of his.
I guess it was more. I guess for some reason, like thinking back to last year, I felt like it was it felt like if the Bengals were better, he would have found a way to keep playing. But I guess.
Oh yeah, I don't.
But I guess it wasn't.
It was a pretty serious injury. And then I think that a lot of people, the AP had sent out this guidance earlier this year that the comeback player of the year award is not supposed to be for someone who just got better as a football player. That they're still really mad that Joe Flacco beat out DeMar Hamlin. That was supposed to be their magical TV moment for DeMar Hamlin to go be recognized last year. And so they're mad that they didn't get it. And so they sent out this guidance it's supposed to be for someone who overcomes something. Well, then why do you I guess twofold. Why wouldn't you just create 2 different awards? And the way that, I tell you,
why don't they have the comeback from a near death?
Yes, you could do that. That would be an option. But the Pro Football Writers.
I mean, seriously, he didn't. DeMar Hamlin had a pretty good year this year.
Mm-hmm. But last year
he didn't. Last year he came back from a near-death experience.
That's
right.
He played football.
But he played football.
The extent of his accomplishment last year, and he played football. And by the way, again, given what he had gone
through,
it's incredible. Nobody's arguing.
But to me, I'm not saying I'm steadfastly against somebody that comes back from an injury winning the comeback player of the year, but for me, Sam Darnold was this year's comeback player of the year for me.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't really care all that. The PFWA does it so there's a most improved and a comeback player of the year award. There's two different awards to separate the two things so that
he was kind of a never was.
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, it's not really a comeback. It's just and so most improved is the thing that makes the most sense. And that's probably a good way to do it, and maybe the AP and the NFL should work that out so that they have two separate awards. They can get kind of a little bit of both of those things that they want.
I never won either one of those awards in broadcasting.
I actually won all three-time comeback player of the award.
Wow.
Player of the year award.
Wow.
But
do they call it comeback player?
Comeback broadcaster of the year, yes. Like I was recognized the first time for having to work with Drew Forrester. I was recognized it's like the Ed Block Courage Awards.
Recognized for working with me?
I wasn't going to say it out loud. I wasn't going to. They just recognized the circumstances that I had to work through and overcome. They gave me a lot of credit for that. Is what I was trying to tell you. I wasn't gonna say it out loud. Yeah. Anyway, Joe Burrow wins comeback player of the year last night, and there you go. The Lamar Jackson, I'm sure, will have plenty of opportunities to win more MVPs. The real question is whether or not he wins Super Bowls. That's the thing that we will look for moving forward. All right, let's talk some Terps. They do indeed lose at Ohio State last night, and I was following along. I always watch this guy on Twitter because he wears his heart on his sleeves during games. He lets his emotions come out.
He played for Gary Williams.
He did, and then, of course, obviously was on staff for a little while after that. He is a former point guard at the University of Maryland. He is our friend Eric Hayes, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Eric, it's Glenn and Stan in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning. Oh, we dropped? All right. Well, look at all that setup that we did and everything. Yeah. It's the worst part, too. That's actually part of the
bad producing.
That's part of the reason why I was named Comeback Broadcaster of the Year, is because they were like, look at what he has to overcome.
Kyle.
Oh, God.
God.
They actually tried to give me.
Valley.
Well, they tried to give me a Nobel Peace Prize.
So you won an award for each once.
For each different producer. Exactly right. A miracle. That's what they call it. They say it's a miracle that I've been able to operate in those circumstances. All right, we try it again.
You're like the best player on the worst team.
Correct. That's exactly what it is. The man who does wear his heart on his sleeve during games, former Maryland point guard and assistant coach. He is Mr. Eric Hayes, and he's back with us on GCR. Eric, it's Glenn and Stan in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, dude. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Hey, guys. Yeah, thanks for giving me a call here.
Absolutely.
Does this make him eligible to be the comeback guest of the
he might. No, stop it. He's the MVP. Eric, you look, it's tough to win on the road in the Big Ten. We all acknowledge that. It's extraordinarily difficult to win on the road. But we had hoped that Maryland had kind of turned the corner with their overall road troubles based on what we had seen in the Illinois and Indiana games. Is it still as simple as, hey, in the end, it's extraordinarily hard to win on the road in a conference like this? Or are there bigger problems, bigger tendencies that are issues that you notice when this team plays on the road?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at college basketball as a whole, I think the main theme is winning on the road is hard. Whatever conference you're in, it seems that everywhere you look, the home team's winning, regardless of the ranking or how big of a mismatch it may be. But in this game last night, I mean, I thought, it looked to be that we were in pretty good control most of the game. And I think one thing that really hurts us is when Gillespie gets in foul trouble. I think that kind of changes everything we do on offense, and he's kind of a big scorer for us and a playmaker for others. So I think that really bogs down the offense when he's out of the game, and that's a big key, I think, for us is to keep him out of foul trouble.
I couldn't agree more about that. It's funny because I brought up one thing that jumps out at me on nights like last night. We praise this team because any of the five guys could be the guy on any given night that things go through. But I do wonder if in situations like this on the road, you need someone who says, no, I'm the alpha. And clearly, you guys had like maybe the biggest alpha of all time in Gravis on those teams. Like he was born that way. But I just wonder if, particularly in road games, as nice as it is to have five guys you can count on, you really do need one guy who says, nope, things are starting to go a little haywire. Everything goes through me now until we get this straightened out.
Yeah, I think that's true. Obviously Gravis he thrived on those situations for us, and I'm not sure this team has that guy. I mean, I think Gillespie is a very good player, and he's done very well this year, but I'm not sure he's ever really had to do that in his career, is kind of take over games. And I think Juju's kind of becoming that player, but he's also needs others to get him the ball for order that to happen. So, yeah, I think it's something we're still trying to figure out, when the time comes in the game where we really need somebody to make a play. I think that's going to be Gillespie down the stretch, but, I think he just needs a little more experience in those positions.
Eric, interestingly enough, one of the players you didn't mention as being the potential for the alpha is the guy that earlier in the year got all the conversation. I think Derek Queen, the last 6-7 games, has somewhat receded from what he was earlier in the year. Has the competition got tougher? Has he hit a freshman wall? And do you see it the same way I'm seeing it, that he's sort of receded from the level that he was at earlier in the year?
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Obviously early in the year you're playing lesser competition for the most part.
Yeah.
And he's normally bigger and stronger and better than most of the guys he's going to match up with in the early season matchups. And obviously Big Ten is a very physical league, and there's a lot of older players out there now, which are 4 or 5 years older than him. And
Yep.
I think he's trying to adjust a little bit to the physicality of the game, and I think that's something that, maybe he's only here for a year, but as time goes on, he's getting stronger and learning how to, score on guys that may be as big as him and maybe more athletic than him. But no, I mean, I think he's still, I think he had a double-double last night. I mean, he's still putting up pretty good numbers, but just not to the extent of what it was early in the year when it was against lesser competition.
Eric, do you have a sense? And I know that you guys never did get to make that. We still use the name Corey Lucius as a curse word in these parts. But
Yeah.
do you have a sense for what it takes? Like, what's the difference between? We know this is a good team. There's no question. This is a good team. But the difference between being a good team and being a team that can break through and make a run and win the Big Ten tournament or get that second weekend Elite Eight type of thing. Do you have a sense for what the difference is between good teams and teams that can do those types of special things?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, obviously we know we never did it as a team, but I think just consistency in play. You look at teams like Michigan State and the ones that are on the top of the Big Ten right now. It's just the consistency of play night in and night out. And I think we've got a little bit of fluctuation from us on, one night will be great, one night we won't be great. It's just one of those things where I think being consistent throughout the year, and then obviously when you get into March, getting your team to be playing the best during that time period, and being the best that time of year, I think is what's really going to propel you to make a run. But yeah, it's kind of hard to really tie down what exactly that is.
Eric, I feel like one of the things that we see about this team, I brought up earlier that the balance, that all five guys can do this, right? I think the concern that people have is, but what about the depth behind it? And we see, like, Deshaun Harris-Smith can give them a couple of minutes, Tafari Gapari can give a couple of minutes, but does it concern you at all, the depth that this team has and their ability to make that type of run?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely concerns me. We've got a very good starting five. Obviously, like you said, DHS has come on a little bit. I know he didn't play very well last night, but recently he's been playing a little bit better and giving us good minutes, especially on the defensive end. That's kind of really where it stops when it comes to the bench, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. The other guy, I forgot his name, but he's had some good stretches throughout the year, but it kind of seems as the games get bigger, he's not factoring in quite as much. So I think it's really important for us moving forward to stay out of foul trouble. Mainly, I would say Gillespie's number one on my list of staying out of foul trouble. I think Reese probably
no doubt
two right now.
Yeah.
I think staying out of foul trouble is big for these guys, because I'm not sure when the games are getting real tough that we've got the depth to kind of handle that.
Eric, Juju Reese, been around for a good while, but is playing his best basketball of his Maryland career right now. As somebody who's done this, what do you see as the way he's improved? Like, how has he gone about the improvement?
Yeah, I mean, it's been quite amazing. It's almost like it's been a 3-year ramp up to,
Yep.
a big turnaround in the senior year. And it's been kind of fun to watch this year. I think he's not getting doubled as much with Queen out there and having shooters around him, which was tough for him last year. There's nobody else besides him and Jameer that were doing anything. So he kind of got a lot of attention. I think this year he's getting less attention. He's being able to be more patient when he catches the ball inside to make moves and get to his left hand. So that's one aspect of it where I think has changed for him. And then obviously the free throw line is the big one for him.
Night and day.
He's going to get the ball a lot. He's going to get fouled a lot. We saw that last year where it was you just cringed every time he's getting to the foul line. And now we're kind of expecting to make him now, which is saying something about how hard he worked on that this offseason.
Eric, there was a time last night coming out of the timeout where I'd forgotten who was going to the free throw line. And then when I saw it was Juju Reese, I'm like, oh, thank God. And I couldn't believe, it really struck me for a second. I'm like,
really
holy crap. That's really what my response was like, thank God it's Juju who's at the line. But that really is where we are at this point.
It is wild. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a turnaround like this before. Whoever his shooting coach was or whoever was working with him this offseason needs a raise. That was quite the job.
No doubt about it, man. Eric Hayes, let's get caught up with you. What's going on in your world? What are you up to these days? Where are you? The whole deal.
I've been living in Nashville, Tennessee for the last.
I didn't want to bring it up because
country western career.
You sounded a little bit more like you've been living in Nashville. Am
I gaining a twang?
Eric, it's not even a joke. Can I be straight shoot with you? Every now and then, I get worried when we call somebody and I'm like, that doesn't sound like And I swear to God, when we started talking, there was this small part of me that was like, "Is that Eric? Is that him?"
Yeah, must be rubbing off on me. But I've been here for almost 8 years now. I'm a head of construction for a building group. We build we have mainly single family houses. We do some apartment complexes and stuff like that. So I've been doing that, for almost 7 years now. I'm loving it here.
That's a very cool. Is basketball still involved in any way?
Just watching. Yeah,
okay.
Just watching. I've got some nieces and nephews that I'm working with. They like playing basketball, and they're playing basketball right now. So I'm coaching them a little bit. But other than that, just enjoying watching.
Do you like Nashville a lot?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's a great city. It's growing rapidly, but I've loved it here.
That's cool, man. I would encourage everybody to give Eric a follow on Twitter at EKHayes5. He does. During games, he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he goes through it the same way that all the rest of us go through it. Every single emotion that you're feeling.
Agonizingly.
Yeah, right? He's going through it the exact same way. Eric, it's great to catch up, man. We'd love to do this again as the season goes on, dude. Thank you for spending a couple of minutes with us this morning.
Yeah, of course. Anytime, guys.
Thanks, buddy. Eric Hayes with us here on GCR. He, Gravis, Landon, that was a nice trio that they had for a little bit there. A couple of really solid seasons, including a ACC regular season title in there. And then, of course, the thing that happened against Michigan State in the tournament that we try to forget about all these years later.
It's a name I hadn't thought of in a long while.
He was a really nice player. He was a really just steady, solid, didn't like – he was never as good as Steve Blake was, right? Like Steve Blake was from the day that he showed up an NBA player. Yeah. But there were Steve Blake elements to his game that he could hit a big shot when he needed to. He distributed the ball well, and then he deferred. Like he was happy to say, "Okay, I get it. Gravis is going to be the point guard for a little while. Yeah. Things are going to go through him."
Yeah, he understood that.
And I'm going to go try to make myself available for a shot, and that's the way that it's going to work. But he was a nice little player. Stan is here. Still to come, we're going to talk some baseball. We will talk about the Football Hall of Fame situation as well because it was more bad news last night for Ravens.
Did you send me breaks yet or no?
I did do that. So Oh,
But Lamar didn't get into the Hall of Fame yet?
No, believe it or not, Lamar did not get into the Hall of Fame. But other guys did, as I pointed out earlier, but couldn't remember who it was. 4 guys got in. We'll talk about the 4 that did. Here, I'm resending them, Griffin, so that you'll definitively have them. 4 guys did. We'll talk about who did, and, of course, we'll talk about who didn't. Terrell Suggs, Marshall Yonda. Today's show also brought to you by the Brigance Brigade. As far as Hall of Fame people go, O.J. Brigance is at about the top of that list here locally, and the Brigance Brigade does incredible work for those that are battling an ALS and those that are supporting those that are battling ALS. You can go to brigancebrigade.org right now. Their big fundraiser is February 21st, their winter soiree at Martin's West. Great live music, including Jimmy Charles, dancing, outstanding food, live auction, special guest appearances, and so much more at the winter soiree benefiting the Brigance Brigade, February 21st at Martin's West. Go to brigancebrigade.org right now in order to get your tickets.
I didn't get them yet, but you want me to use yesterday's?
Yeah, play number 3 then, I guess. Go ahead. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
You're going to love February at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Sweeten your Valentine's Day with a chocolate bar February 13th and 14th. Pamper yourself and your partner with Valentine's Day spa discounts February 10th through 21st. Celebrate the Year of the Snake and win a Lunar New Year luxury brand collection February 28th. Plus more ways to play, dine, and win all month. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at DriveEasyMD.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR. It is a Friday edition of the program. Stan the Fan Charles is in studio with us.
What time do I have to leave to avoid
11,
Peter
11
Schmuck?
is the time that you got to duck out of here.
So
if you're gonna miss
10:59?
Peter Schmuck. Yeah. We'll talk to Peter. Peter Schmuck's going to tell you, those of you that are naysayers, those of you that are down on the Orioles, he's going to tell you what you're right about going into the season. So we'll talk about that with Schmucker a little bit later on. Pro Football Hall of Fame last night only elects a 3-man class, and then Sterling Sharp gets in via, I don't remember what the name of the committee is, but it's like a veterans thing, and he gets in. We talked about this yesterday, and I don't think the people caught this, and I only caught it because I was reminded by a column that Mike Sando wrote for The Athletic about the change in the Pro Football Hall of Fame process, which is utterly insane. The Pro Football Hall of Fame changed their process so that instead of the voters taking that 15 finalists and then cutting it to 5 finalists. They instead cut it to 7 finalists. When they would cut it to 5 finalists, once you got down to that 5, whether those were your guys or not, overwhelmingly the voters said, let's make sure we get guys in. Maybe you didn't feel...
And when did they change this process? This year?
This year.
Yeah.
The reasons that have been given are twofold. The first reason is because they used to vote on the day before the Super Bowl. They used to have everybody come to town, go into a room, bunker down on Saturday morning, and then release the white smoke. They couldn't do that during the pandemic, and they decided to keep it that way post-pandemic. That the voters didn't have to come to the Super Bowl site. They did it 2 weeks ahead of time. And then what would happen is everybody would know who the 5 finalists were, and they would know if you're one of the 5 finalists, you're getting in, because it was sort of this rule that they had amongst them that all the 5 finalists would get in. And so there were a lot of leaks over the last couple of years. There were a lot of times where you would see reports of who had gotten in and who hadn't gotten in. And they didn't like that, because then it took away from the TV show that they were doing on Thursday night, and in fact, they wanted that to be an announcement of some sort. Apparently, there was also a push that was led by Deion Sanders that the Pro Football Hall of Fame was becoming too inclusive. And, of course, it's hard to argue because they put Harold Baines in, and that really changed everything. And we all said...
the NFL or the football?
Oh, right. That wasn't the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's right. That was a different Hall of Fame that put Harold Baines in. I forgot about that. Apparently, Deion Sanders thinks that the Pro Football Hall of Fame is too inclusive and was letting too many guys in. Because that's the first thing that I see when everybody... I'm like, how dare they allow Jared Allen to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame? How dare they? That guy's not a Pro Football Hall of Famer. A sport that has at least 22 starting players.
On 30 teams, 32 teams.
And
right?
if you include specialists, and Adam Vinatieri didn't get in last night, but we all think is a Hall of Famer and will get in and was in the next group of 4, so you could argue there's really 23. I think the Ray Guy remains the only punter who's ever gotten in. So I don't know that there's ever going to be another punter that gets into the Hall of Fame. But Devin Hester got in. So you could argue there's 23 starting spots on all of those teams, and they ultimately inducted a class the same size as the Baseball Hall of Fame, which has half as many starting players. This is insane. It's asinine that the Pro Football Hall of Fame decided that they needed to have fewer guys get in. It's bat-ass, truly. It's one. Luke Kuechly didn't get into the Hall of Fame.
He was an incredible player.
Luke Kuechly is he's a Hall. Nobody. Remember we were having this conversation with Clark Judge earlier this week, who's a voter, about that sometimes all you got to do is walk in, say somebody's name, and everybody can say, yes, obviously, and move on.
Right.
Luke Kuechly, to me, is one of those types of players. It shouldn't take much conversation. Luke Kuechly, remember him? Okay, moving on now. And he didn't get in.
Was he in the next group, that group before, or not even there?
Pika tweeted out who the next 4 were. I gotta pull that back up. And
to me, it felt like Vinatieri and Kuechly could have been 2 of those guys, where it was you just say their name. And
of course they should be among those guys. And I don't think Terrell Suggs is far from that.
No.
But again,
I think it is that waiting process is a thing with Jared Allen being
the next 4. You all right over there?
Do you need help, Stan?
Stan's now all of a sudden. I don't know what the hell just happened here.
There we go.
The next 4 that fell short of 80%, but were among the 7 finalists, were Willie Anderson, Torrey Holt, Luke Kuechly, and Adam Vinatieri. So the advantage for those 4 guys is that you immediately get put into the group of 15 finalists for next year. You don't have to go through, the cut down from one to the other. Although, I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound disrespect. I think all 4 of those guys are Hall of Famers. Like, I do. But I don't know that Like, I think that Vinatieri and Kuechly very clearly are among the – I think that the wide receiver thing is one of the most bonkers things that we've ever dealt with related to a
Sterling
Hall of
Sharp's
Fame.
been waiting, I guess. And
He's not – they didn't elect Sterling Sharp. Somebody else elected Sterling Sharp. They're just – like refusing to put wide receivers in. And the next year they're not going to put – because Larry Fitzgerald, if there's a wide receiver going in next year, it would be Larry Fitzgerald.
At this point, are we sure? Like,
I don't know what to make of it anymore. But at the end of the day, it can't be okay that only 3 guys get into the Hall of Fame, because the problem for the Football Hall of Fame is not that it's too inclusive. It's not at all. If anything, it's the exact opposite. Torrey Holt and Reggie Wayne are not disputable. They're both Hall of Famers. But they keep having to wait because it's so difficult when you were definitively putting 5 guys in every year. It was difficult for them. Now they only put 3, and it becomes essentially impossible. This is...
Yeah, there's going to be an incredible backup.
There's already an incredible backup, and it's not going to get... Not only Larry Fitzgerald next year, but Drew Brees is next year. Phillip Rivers is next year. Like... And I know there's others. It's a loaded Hall of Fame class of eligible players next year. Frank Gore is next year. There's somebody else who's also a surefire, indisputable Hall of Famer. Phillip Rivers we could at least have a conversation about. I think he was better than Eli
Marquise
Manning.
Pouncey is on next.
That's not the one. There's another one who's
he's got a high legend score for whatever that's
he's
worth. Geno Atkins, Steven Gustav, Witten.
Jason Witten, who's definitely a Hall of Famer. No question about it. But yeah, will he go in next year? Who knows?
Greg Olson's up next year. I guess
he's not a
a
Hall of
career
Famer.
wise.
He's a great guy.
He'll go as a contributor later, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. He's a hell of a player. He was a hell of a player.
Oh, Des Bryant, Ravens legend.
Yeah, not a Hall of Famer.
No.
Yeah, not at all. But those first 4 guys,
Matt Schaub, another Ravens
Brees, Fitzgerald, Gore, and Witten are unquestionably Hall of Famers. Phillip Rivers, I think, is a Hall of Famer, but
I think Eli has to go in before him, right?
I don't it's really funny. Phillip Rivers was definitely a better quarterback than Eli Manning. There's no debate about who the better quarterback was. The one thing that gives me like some encouragement is that they didn't just default to, well, Eli played in New York and was likable, so let's put him in the Hall of Fame.
And he won 2 Super Bowls.
That they actually had a legitimate conversation about whether or not Eli Manning should be a Hall of Famer. And I don't know if Eli Manning should be a Hall of Famer. The only real Hall of Fame argument for Eli Manning is, well, that this nebulous, can you tell the history of the NFL without this player thing? And Eli Manning having beaten Tom Brady specifically in 2 Super Bowls. But it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, right? Like, Eli Manning wasn't really all that great in the Arizona Super Bowl. He got a miracle of David Tyree catching a ball on his helmet.
Put it where the ball needed to be.
Yeah.
Could you have done it?
Yeah. No, you know what? Maybe.
No.
Maybe.
You had to shed off.
That is the amazing part about that play.
The sack.
That part of that play was amazing.
Julian Edelman's also up next year. I don't know. I mean,
not a Hall of Famer, but a damn good player. Damn good player, but not a Hall of Famer. Terrell Suggs and Marshall Yonda. And by the way, I was encouraged by what Clark Judge said. He seemed like he was tipping his cap a little bit. Like, I don't think those guys are getting in. I don't think that's happening. But
to me, Yonda was a Hall of Famer.
They're both Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
They're both.
Yeah.
Unquestionably to me, they're both
and
Hall
Suggs was definitely a Hall of
they're
Famer.
both. And Suggs had an argument for being a first ballot Hall of Famer. And it does feel, and we'll see if voters talk a little bit more about it, but again, it seemed like Clark Judge was alluding to it. Like they just sort of prioritized, well, we've made Jared Allen wait 5 years. Let's push Jared Allen through this year, and then we can work on Terrell Suggs after that.
You think the Suggs, the McDonald's incident had anything?
I don't.
I mean,
doesn't seem.
It seems like it should to me. I guarantee it came up in that room.
Maybe, but there's a lot of other guys that have had a lot of other, like,
2 wrongs don't make a right.
I agree, but that one to me is not
on a playing basis. He's a Hall of Famer.
That incident is not disqualifying. If you want to bring up some of the other stuff that was alleged about Terrell Suggs earlier in his career, there could be something that an incident like that is not a disqualifying incident. Like that's
didn't he have a gun?
Yeah, but he didn't brandish. He didn't he didn't try to threaten to shoot the guy. He just fought him. It's not a good look. Nobody is trying to say that it was a smart thing to do, but that alone wasn't disqualifying. And the sense that I got from talking to voters was that wasn't something that they were concerned about. It seemed much more like, and this is what they do. Look, Eric Allen, for years, wasn't even in the conversation. But then they looked up and said, well, we're about to run out of time. Maybe we should put Eric Allen in. Maybe we should prioritize that.
Right.
And it's with no disrespect to Eric Allen, who was a really good player.
How long do players get to sit on the ballot?
I think they are 15 years on the ballot, which is what the Baseball Hall of Fame used to be, and then they switched it to 10 years recently. I think the Pro Football Hall of Fame is still 15 years before they kick him over. Remember, Joe Jacoby, the last couple of years, they were really pushing to try to get Joe Jacoby in, but this is a straight shoot. The voters were so pissed off at Dan Snyder, and Dan Snyder politicked his way to take whoever the Washington voter at the time was off the committee and replace him with Larry Michael, who was his personal stooge.
Which infuriated the rest of the
infuriated everybody
right.
and poisoned the push to get Joe Jacoby into the Hall of Fame, which all of that is nonsense. Every aspect of that sentence is nonsense. That was something that impacted Joe Jacoby is nonsense. That Dan Snyder ever did it was nonsense. All of it was nonsense. And that, something that Stan, you talked about beforehand, that all of the politics that I don't love. There's no one obvious way to go about picking Hall of Fame voters, and everybody can dunk on the fact that somebody that had a Baseball Hall of Fame vote didn't vote for Ichiro, which yes is insane, but it's one guy, and it changes absolutely nothing about Ichiro in any way. No one has decided that because Mariano Rivera was the one guy that got 100% of the vote, that means Mariano Rivera was the best player in baseball history. No one has that opinion. We do not correlate percentage of votes. Anybody who thinks that Derek Jeter is one of the 3 best players in baseball history because he got one of the 3 highest vote totals is one of the dumbest humans alive. We understand that vote totals don't correlate with quality of baseball player. The only thing that matters is, did the totality, the overwhelming majority of everyone who saw you know that you were a Hall of Famer, know that you were one of the greatest players? And that's what happened with Ichiro. Ichiro was overwhelmingly elected. We flip out about the one, it was one. But that process remains the better process. Take a large group of people, give each of them, no one's got the ability to try to hold political power or sway or anything along those lines, and say, just vote. Were they a Hall of Famer or not? And we very rarely have we gotten something royally wrong. I know you love Bobby Abreu, and I don't blame you for loving Bobby Abreu, but Bobby Abreu, there's a genuine debate about whether or not Bobby Abreu is a Hall of Famer.
Agreed.
You're not missing a slam dunk Hall of Famer. The Football Hall of Fame process allows for slam dunk Hall of Famers to be missed because the process is wrong. And because the priority is who's waited longer. Was Jared Allen a better player than Terrell Suggs? No. Lord, no. But a group of people said, we need to prioritize Jared Allen. We've got to throw everything behind Jared Allen. It's really important that Jared Allen gets in this time because he's waited for 5 years. And so what if Terrell Suggs has to wait for 2? We want to make sure he gets in this time. And that's not a good process. Imagine aliens come to Earth and you try to explain it to them. Like, how do you pick who gets into the Hall of Fame? Well,
you think the aliens would be that interested?
It's the most important thing, yes. If they landed tomorrow, Stan, the first thing they would do is to tell us about the football.
They're probably going to land in Canton.
They wouldn't ask how Griffin's got a job?
No, that would be like, I think, the 6th or 7th thing that they would get to on the list.
They would ask. I
think they get to that.
I think they'd be very interested.
I think they get to that. But I think the first thing would be the football.
It'd be pretty obvious.
They would land.
Probably be after Drew Forrester.
Right, there would be a lot of questions about that. They might say, where's the bathroom? And then they'd say, let's talk about the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And we'd say, we figured you were going to ask, and we're so sorry, we don't have a good answer for you.
Where is the best Philly cheesesteak?
They're like, so these are the 40 people that get the vote because they're the best? Like, no, they're just they're just 40 random people that we choose. Were they definitively the ones that watch the sport? No. Just we kind of pick 40 people and say go for it. Well, does that make sense? No, of course it doesn't make sense. Welcome to Earth. Like, that's the way that this would go.
And now
they'd ask about Art Modell.
Yeah, they might get there. I mean, we need to go through the process a little bit more. I think the process would be the first part, and then they'd worry about the people after that.
I guess the bummer is because now it does feel like we're almost taking things like we're not celebrating Antonio Gates as much as he probably should be.
No, it is. It's not good for anybody involved that this is where we are. And what does the Pro Football Hall of Fame do about it? Remember, they tried to do a monster, veterans class a few years ago because they were like, well, we have all these old guys that we need to get in. But then we found out that was just a sham to try to get Paul Tagliabue in. Like, they were trying to figure out a way that the NFL could force Paul Tagliabue into the Hall of Fame because every time he came up, they were like, yeah, no. Like, no, we're not doing the bit where if you were the commissioner, you get to be in the Hall of Fame. And then the NFL didn't like that, so they said, try again, and changed the process and rigged it to make sure that they got Paul Tagliabue in. I don't know who's going to try to rig the process now to try to fix this problem, but we can't pretend like it's not a problem. There's no world in which there should be only 3 players that get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. That's nuts. It's insane. It's embarrassing. They've got to do something. And I'm not mad at the voters. I'm not mad at Clark Judge. I'm not mad at Scott Garceau. I'm not mad at any of them. It's the process that's the problem. And it should be fixed.
Scott Garceau?
No.
I'm mad at Garceau?
I'm trying to think of something that I would be mad at. No, he's like the nicest human alive. I'm not mad at Scott Garceau. And I'm sure he did a wonderful presentation for both Terrell Suggs and Marshall Yonda. But his
he was leading the charge.
By the way,
his
undefeated streak comes to an end. He was 3 for 3 on first ballot Hall of Famers.
Who was?
Garceau. Yeah, he presented Ray Lewis, he presented Jonathan Ogden, he presented Ed Reed, and he got all 3 of them in on the first ballot. This time, I don't know, maybe he's slipping. Maybe he's slipping a little bit.
His fastball could be.
Might be losing the fastball. We'll come back in. We'll talk to Peter Schmuck about the Birds. That's next.
All right, I got to go.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's Glenn Clark Radio.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their amazingly scrumptious, fat, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. Every season is crab season at Costas, so make your plans now by calling 410-477-1975 and reserve your taste of heaven. Sit back, crack some crabs, and watch the Ravens chase down another title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday nights, Costas offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30, and there are nightly specials Monday through Friday. So head on down to the Costas Inn at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and it's our very special Best of 2024 issue. On the cover, we celebrate our Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Lamar Jackson, as Bo Smoka profiles what the quarterback means to the community beyond the football field. Also inside, we celebrate the top people, performances, and moments of the year in local sports. Press Box is available for free at over 500 area locations, including 60 Royal Farm stores, and you can always read the entire issue and find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
Need a trophy or award that's as unique as the achievement? Look no further than Crown Trophy. With locations in Owings Mills and Gaithersburg, they specialize in custom trophies, plaques, and medals for any occasion. From sports and academic awards to employee recognition and corporate gifts, visit crowntrophy.com today and let them help you create a lasting memory for your school, team, or business. Crown Trophy is a proud supporter of the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. Crown Trophy crowntrophy.com.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Friday edition of the program. Stan the Fan Charles is here. Today's show.
All right, I'm going to stay.
Yeah, are you going to? You're going to talk to him. Yeah. Today's show is brought to you by County Sports Zone. Everything you need to know about high school sports here in the state of Maryland: scores, schedules, rankings, polls. They've got it for you, and we're getting close to postseason in high school hoops, and they'll have you covered. And then, of course, we'll move into spring sports season and lacrosse and baseball and softball and everything. They've got it at countysports.zone. It's proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. countysports.zone, again, is the website. Go check it out today. Still to come this hour, we're going to preview the start of Stevenson lacrosse season with our friend Paul Cantabene, the head coach over at Stevenson, as they open up the season a little bit later on today. It is a busy weekend. Last weekend was the start of college, and oddly this year, like most of the teams in the area started on what I guess is college football's week 0 equivalent, but this is the first full weekend for everybody else in the country. This man's got a column up today at BaltimoreBaseball.com in which he acknowledges a couple things. One, he says, look, man, I'm an apologist, which I don't know. I don't think he always is. I don't think that's the case. But he says those of you that are naysayers, that are down on the Orioles going into the start of the season, there's something that you're right about. And there's kind of really no way to argue that. We'll bring it up with him right now. He is, of course, Peter Schmuck, BaltimoreBaseball.com, and he is with us this morning here on GCR. Peter Schmucker, it's Glenn, it's Stan. Great to chat with you, buddy. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
How you guys doing? I have to say in my column, I have to admit, was what Howard Cosell used to call a piercing look into the obvious.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. It's okay to say it. If you say the Orioles have no hope or they stink, then okay. Now you're just saying things for the sake of saying it. But to suggest there's anything controversial about saying that on paper they're not as good as they were a year ago, how could you argue the opposite? What would the argument be?
Well, I mean, the argument would be, if you're, like I said, if you're an apologist, I put that in the column. The argument would be that you got an unrealized Jackson Holiday, you got a not fully realized Colton Cowser, you got Adley Rutschman, who we all believe was not the guy who absolutely crashed and burned at the plate last year in the second half. And so, I like I said in the column, I'm very hopeful that it'll be an exciting season. Right. I don't think they're going to win the American League East, but I think they still have a chance to make the playoffs.
And I think that's the point. They when we say they're not as good on paper, we do acknowledge that, absolutely there are things that change that. No question about it. And even reasonable things. Because I think it's reasonable to believe that Adley Rutschman and Jackson Holiday are going to be better than they were a year ago. But, that's the point. The point is to say right now, we think they needed to be better than that. We think they needed Jackson Holiday to be better, and we think they needed Adley Rutschman to be better, and still needed more pitching, still needed more whatever, and that, I think, is where the frustration comes for a group of Orioles fans.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's a natural state of things in baseball that for Mike Elias, to some extent, the honeymoon's over. Not that anyone's down on him, because he's done a great job, but now people, we've seen 2 playoff appearances. The team hasn't measured up in the playoffs. Everybody wants to see them take the next step forward. And as configured, it's not easy to see that happening this year. And there's still time. Obviously, there's still a couple of decent pitchers out there, and they have, they could get lucky and have, a bunch of their pitchers do really, really well. They got a lot of starting pitchers. It's just they don't have that one like Corbin Burns, and I think it's fair to assume that they won't have the equivalent of an entire major league starting rotation get hurt in the first 6 weeks of the season like last year.
I think it would be insane.
Pete, one of the other things is that your team doesn't exist in a vacuum. The other teams around us, and I'm not including Toronto and Tampa, but I think it's fair to say that Boston's gotten a little better with the addition of Crochet. And Liam Hendricks will probably be pretty darn good in that bullpen. Trevor Story might be healthy this year. The Yankees certainly have improved their pitching a little bit. Do you think the distance between us and them has changed much?
Well, I think with the Yankees, I mean, losing Soto was a big blow, obviously. And we don't know, just looking at Judge's history, I don't think he'll hit 65 home runs this year. I mean, I
don't think he hits more than 61 or 62.
Yeah. He's certainly capable of it. I'm just saying that he's been up and down throughout his career to some extent. He's a monster. There's no question about it. But I think like I said, on paper, there's more distance between them and the Yankees. I don't know how to evaluate the Red Sox just yet.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's touting them, but they've been long before too. But I mean, it's an interesting division, and I wouldn't count Toronto out either. I mean, I don't know how Anthony's going to respond in Rogers Field, but the Rogers Center. But it's a good division. It's a very good division again, and that's what it's always going to be. And the Orioles, I do believe they're still a playoff team, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be it's going to require some of the things that went wrong last year to not go wrong, and require some maturation on the part of these young players. I mean, the core of young players is really good. That infield is probably the best young infield in baseball. I know the first baseman, the two Ryans, are not young by today's, in relative terms, but you really have to wait and see. But there's a lot of offense there. I hate losing Santander. I think, frankly, I don't know about you. I think the Tyler O'Neill thing's a big gamble, and I would not have. I'm really down on opt-out clauses. You're essentially guaranteeing a guy. You're guaranteeing a guy $49 million, and if he walks off a curb wrong and blows his knee out, you may get one good year out of him. And if he hits 50 home runs this year, he's going to opt out and start over. And you took all that risk, and you get no reward the next year. I think they're ludicrous. And if I was the emperor of baseball, I would outlaw that kind of a clause.
Yeah, we might have to do a Peter. What would Peter Schmuck do if he was emperor of baseball? We might have to do that show at some point. Peter Schmuck is with us.
I want to be emperor of everything. I don't want
not just baseball. You got everything figured out. Peter, what is your theory about why the Orioles didn't swing more this offseason? Like, everybody's got their own theories about, Mike Elias or ownership. What is your? Because I think what you allude to is that there was a feeling that, hey, with new ownership and the team being this good, like this is the time, this is the moment to take big swings. What is your theory as to why the team didn't take bigger offseason swings?
I thought you were talking about it in the playoffs. You mean in the offseason? Yeah. I think you had a situation where I think we were being unrealistic if we ever thought they were going to re-sign Burns. I mean, I hadn't really analyzed it that heavily early in the postseason. I wasn't really viewing it as here's a guy who just had new baby and he lives in Arizona and the Diamondbacks are willing to give him a bunch of money. I mean, where else is he going to go? I mean, he gets to do spring training at home. Although some players don't like to do spring training at home, if you get my drift. But, he wasn't coming back. Okay. I wasn't sure of that at the beginning. And I suspect the Orioles would have paid him what Arizona would have paid him. I thought it was less than he could have got across Major League Baseball. Because he was one of the last guys that was really of that quality. Blake Snell was gone. I thought his contract would start with a 3, frankly, just because of the market. And so I never thought the Orioles would play in that arena because I have to say, regardless of what we all would like to see happen, David Rubenstein didn't get $7.5 billion by throwing money in the street. I mean, this guy's gonna require the team to operate efficiently, as he's proving as they alter the front office and whatever. But I just think they got to a point where the people that were available to them, they probably felt weren't that much better than what they already have, and they already have a whole bunch of pitchers on the starters on the roster. I did no problem. As you read my previous column, I had no problem with Jack Flaherty not getting a bunch of money from the Orioles.
I'm good with that too.
I wasn't impressed 2 years ago.
I wasn't impressed 2 years ago. I liked them 4 years ago, and I liked them last year. And it's fair to say that he was still in process of, getting back to what he could be. And I don't consider 2 years at $35 million a lot of money in today's marketplace for a high 3, medium 2 starting pitcher.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. I agree with you when you look at the whole market.
Yeah.
But when you look at this particular guy, and I have no problem with him on a personal level. I mean,
right.
he's definitely a good pitcher. But consider this, that he comes back here, let's say, and he clearly looked like he didn't want to be here the last time. And that may have been, getting over the fact that the, Cardinals dealt him. But consider that you sign that contract, and what you're saying is you're guaranteeing him $35 million because he gets 10 in the second year at a player option, plus 10 if he makes plus 10 more if he makes 15 starts the second year. And so if the guy is 8-10 this year with a 4.50 ERA instead of a 3.20 or whatever he had last year, and then next year makes 15 on his 15th start, blows out his arm again, gets hurt, gets significantly hurt. You've paid $45 million for nothing, and that's a calculation the guy spending $45 million has to make, not us. So I just like I said, would he have helped? Would he have been a significant addition to the rotation? Yes. Would I have given him that contract? No.
I think the problem, Peter, is like I feel like we're doing the thing. You can talk yourself out of all these guys, but is what you have enough? Like, do you have enough pitching to really feel like you can viably compete to the point to win the American League East, to win the World Series? Not
if you're not somewhat Pollyannish and optimistic. I don't think they do. I think there's still some people in play, so they still have the wherewithal to make a deal. And if they think that, then they'll make a deal. I think that that the interesting thing is that they have 3 players basically that you could put together a package to. I mean, where you could take one of them. We all know who the 3 are. You could take one of them and put that in a package with a couple other with a major league player and a couple minor league players, and maybe you get somebody that is as good as is as good as the 2 guys on top. It's about as good as Zach
Eflin and Grayson Rodriguez. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I think you can do that. And sure, it would be nice to have another one. I mean, I'm okay with their top 3. But you wish they were there 2. They were there 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, that's what I think we all would agree on. That if those 3 guys are your 2, 3, and 4, and you got a couple guys behind them, you got Suarez, depending on what they want to do with him, where he's going to be, and then you got a couple other guys you brought in, and you're waiting, of course, for Bradish and Tyler Wells to fill it out in the second half of the season, perhaps. They've got enough arms, but like you said, are they good enough at the way they're configured right now? A lot, like you said, it has to go right.
That's where I'm at. Like that, and I'm not. Again, it's baseball. Like it absolutely could, but it's tough.
I mean, it looks an awful lot better if Michael King or Cease are part of this equation.
Would you, Peter? Would you take a flyer on bringing John Means back?
Yeah, if he's still out there. I would. But I wouldn't give him $15 million. I mean,
I get it.
He can't pitch. He won't be able to pitch till midseason either, right?
No, at least midseason. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't paid a lot of attention to his situation. I think when push comes to shove, when he's, at some point when he's ready to pitch, if someone has, someone will sign him. But, I always thought you should have just got to make a good deal with him, and he should be, he should be willing to take short money and incentives based on starts and stay here, because he doesn't have the, we go somewhere else. He's, just doesn't have the historical love and affection that Oriole fans have.
Yeah, the equity. He doesn't have the equity.
Well, and Peter, to me, the other side too is that, like, the Dodgers to me are the argument of, and the Yamamoto is probably still better than anything the Orioles have, but like they didn't have a traditional ace among that group. And it was bulk. And that to me is the argument. Like, if you're going to do this, if the argument is we're not going to have an ace, then bulk. Then get as many arms to throw into the mix as possible, and hope that John Means could come back and help you, because, ride the guys that you have that work, the way that Albert Suarez worked for a few weeks and Cole Irvin worked for a few weeks.
Well, I think Kittredge, Soto, and Dominguez
in
added
the bullpen,
to
in the bullpen.
Bautista coming
I'm saying
back,
even with starting pitching, I would bulk it up. Just have 10 guys who could be starting pitchers and might be hot for a couple of weeks. And to your point, 2 that you really count on, the 2 that are at the top. But maybe you can get 6 good starts out of Trevor Rogers for a little while, and then if that goes south, then you throw whoever back into the rotation. Like,
well, you've got 8 right now, including Povich, Rogers, and Suarez.
Right.
And the 5, the top 5.
But I'm not counting on those guys for the season.
And all of those, they're set up now that all of those guys you'd be able to keep them in the minor league. The three extras are, they'll keep them in the minor leagues. The more good guys you get, then you got to figure out that you can only keep so many guys, because you can't. You're not going to bring in a guy and send Dean Kramer down. You reach a point where you're not in that position to really be do that. So it's not like you can stockpile really good pitchers beyond 6 or 7.
I agreed, but I don't know how many of these guys are really good pitchers, right? Like, I think if you get to a point where you just say, hey, it's not working, then it's not working, and you move on. That was the Cole Irvin story a year ago. It's a bummer, but you move on, and you say, okay, we got everything that we could get out of that guy.
Pete, the last 2 signings were very curious to me. It looked to me like the Orioles, if they weren't going to involve Mountcastle in a trade, and so far they haven't gotten a buyer, any bites on him. But it seemed like they had 13 pitchers, were pretty easy to identify, interchanging Suarez, Povich, and Rogers as like the last guy. And the 13 position players were pretty obvious to me too. And then all of a sudden they brought Carlson into the mix, which didn't make a lot of sense, but he's only got $1 million deal, and he's also got options. But all of a sudden, they bring in Laureano, who has a history. He was drafted by Mike Elias about 8 years ago in Houston. Where is there room for one or both of those guys to make the team, unless there is a trade in the offing?
I share your confusion. Okay, I didn't understand why you bringing in a couple of these guys, Laureano, and you designate Ezequiel Rivera for assignment. I mean, we're talking about a bunch of fringe infielders, right, or fringe players that are your 27th, 28th, or whatever guy that you can.
Yeah, but Laureano, they're giving $4 million to. I mean, that's a real contract.
That's my question, though, because if you look at his, they must have some analytical stuff that I don't understand, because Rivera actually played very, very well for them last year.
Yeah.
With like an high 8 OPS. I mean, he was surprising, and it's like, he's no good. And here's this guy who you look at what he's, you look at his record and you go, why? I mean, I don't, your infield, you already got to find some place. You already got to find some place for Mateo and Urias. Your infield is just packed, and it's nice to have a couple utility guys available that you can send down or bring up and down. And then, my gut is that, that they might be considering trading Kjerstad.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if something Kjerstad or Mullins could still be in play. With the idea of Kauser and Laureano playing a lot of center field.
Right, and I don't know that it's so tough to gauge Mullins, the worth that what you could get for Mullins in a trade.
Yeah,
he's such an odd kind of. He's very inconsistent. He can be the best player in the American League for 3 weeks, and he can be the worst player in the American League for the next 6 weeks. What doesn't go to sleep is his defense. His defense is good, but he can't throw the ball. So
yeah,
I think they need to get better. I think they need to get better there.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
all right.
Peter Schmuck at Schmuckstop is how you follow him. BaltimoreBaseball.com, and we've linked up the column from today at Glenn Clark Radio. Appreciate you, brother.
It's funny. It's funny. A lot of people say that about Peter. He can be the best sports writer for 3 weeks.
Actually, nobody says
and
that.
Then he can be the worst for 6 weeks.
Or he can just do nothing for 6 weeks, and then I feel guilty.
Love you, brother.
All right, guys.
Appreciate you.
Love you, Pete.
Great talking to you, buddy.
Peter Schmuck with us here on GCR. We didn't, you and I weren't together this week to talk about Ramon Laureano. As I said, in a vacuum, sure, but in a vacuum, and without having extraordinarily high expectations for what it is that Ramon Laureano is going to bring you. The other thing that's happened since you and I last spoke was the passing of Rich Dower, and I just wondered if you had a story or something that you could share about Rich Dower.
I don't have a specific story about Dower, but it just since the day of the Houston Astros parade, it's just a guy I wouldn't have wished would happen to him. On my worst enemy. And this is a guy who deserved better. He was well loved by all of his teammates, and played on our last World Championship team.
And I think the crazy part too is that on paper, like, his numbers never were great, and but you talk to all of these guys about
but he
what
was
he
a piece
meant.
of glue. He
right.
was a piece of glue on the team.
That he was such a significant part of.
And he turned himself into he was never he was never Bobby Grich at second base. But when the ball was hit to him, he made every freaking play.
I was talking about that with Dempsey. That in a way, I do think he's underappreciated defensively.
No question about it. No question about it.
That he really did offer a lot.
And I think he was really disappointed. When Mike Flanagan ran the team, he was interviewed for the managerial job. And that was the time where Mike was blown away by Lee Mazzilli. And you wonder what exactly blew him away. But I know Rich was really disappointed in that. Outcome.
But it's really hard to second guess. Really hard to second guess.
Lee Mazzilli had such a brilliant manager.
Ingratiated himself well into the community. Just a lot to like about Lee Mazzilli.
But you touched on my topic for my column that the new paper comes out in about 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
This was quite a year for the Orioles in terms of deaths. Peter Angelos, Larry Lucchino, Rudy May, Merv Rettenman, and Rich Dower, and a couple others that I write about. So it was quite a season that way. But I didn't know Rich's wife, but I know she has stood beside him through just incredible stress and strain.
Dempsey got really emotional talking about his wife. Really
she
emotional.
Was well loved by all the teammates, and it's very sad, but he's in a better place now than he was.
The other thing that I think people have forgotten about is, like, for while he wasn't a great hitter, he had some really big postseason hits. He had some.
He had that big home run in the
what
Game
should have
7.
been right. What should have been obviously remembered eternally in '79, but didn't end up being the case.
Off of Jim Bibby.
Stan is here. Stan, you're going to be in action next week.
I'll be in action.
Yeah.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
I may be in so much action that I don't know that I can come in.
You're just going to be a little too exhausted by it.
Oh, God.
What do you got coming up next week?
Ross Grimsley and I Monday are going to chat with John W. Miller, the author of The Last Manager, the Earl Weaver story. And then on Tuesday, I'll be talking to A.J. Gersh, the new sportscaster over on Fox 45.
You can always find Stan's shows, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. Click on the videos tab. Go to youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video.
And I think Wednesday is going to be our taping day for Drawing a Crowd, the Business of Sports Tourism, as Terry Hazelton and I will talk to Jackie McWilliams, Commissioner of the CIAA.
Of course, that podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. Stan and Terry Hasseltine talking about the business of sports here in the state of Maryland. Going to talk some lacrosse on the other side. There were a couple of final moves at the trade deadline yesterday, although nothing at the deadline all that significant in comparison to what had happened before that. So we'll go over a little bit of that as well as we continue along on a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in Maryland. But don't worry, protection is within arm's reach. Protect your health with this year's COVID-19 and flu shots. It's safe and convenient to get them both at the same time. Flex your protection. For more information, visit health.maryland.gov/vaccines.
This message paid for by the Maryland Department of Health.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
You're gonna love February at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Sweeten your Valentine's Day with a chocolate bar February 13th and 14th. Pamper yourself and your partner with Valentine's Day spa discounts February 10th through 21st. Celebrate the Year of the Snake and win a Lunar New Year luxury brand collection February 28th. Plus more ways to play, dine, and win all month. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from DriveEasyMD.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at DriveEasyMD.com.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR. These are getting into the final days for you to pick up this print issue of Press Box before it is gone. Do we have a date for the new print issue of Press Box yet, Stan? Do we know?
I believe it's going to be the 16th or 17th of February.
Okay, so next week will be the last week for you to get the best of issue with Lamar Jackson on the cover. Then it will be gone to make way for a new print issue that will have a baseball theme on the cover, and we'll tell you more about that next week. Go get it for free right now at your neighborhood Royal Farms. Any of the...
We really blew it with Lamar.
Because he wasn't even MVP? Yeah, really
MVP.
Shameful. Yeah. Shameful on our part.
Not our fault.
We clearly should have given it to...
Derrick Henry.
Sure. Also not MVP. Not sure if you heard. Also did not...
Yeah, but
he got Offensive Player of the Year.
But we weren't
He got-
disappointed.
yeah, he
but we weren't.
Aaron Schatz
we
voted
weren't
for
so
him for
bitterly disappointed. By
It's a great point. Great point.
Now we got somebody on the cover.
Yeah,
and we're just going, what a loser.
Yeah, why would we ever care about this guy?
What's this guy ever done?
This guy.
We just have to be careful with that because he could win it every year.
Well, I mean, to some
hopefully
extent.
the Orioles will have somebody.
And look, that is
or Kevin
that is
Willard will
part.
win
If there's no one else that makes a compelling argument, I do think that part of our obligation is to, as we always say, we want this to be the yearbook of Baltimore sports. And if we look back and say
we could use the same picture,
we could just keep going. Yeah, right. Just change a 4 to a 5. Right.
Maybe
Do the
maybe
exact
not
same
make it
thing.
in gold.
No, he's got to win the Super Bowl before we go back to gold. Is that the rule that we'll make
you
for
gotta
it?
win this.
That's Lamar Jackson. He very much could be that guy many, many years. But yeah, go get that before it's gone. As always, you can read it at PressBoxOnline.com/bestof. All right, Griffin, give us the rundown. Wizards making big moves, changing everything.
Marcus Smart, taking the headlines yesterday. Wizards loading up, won 3 in a row
for the playoffs. Yeah,
Is this a new
big
feature?
test tonight.
Is this a daily feature on the show
Griffin,
now?
for whatever reason, traipses in and out of being like this big Wizards or Capitals fan. Like it's the
Wizards watch. This is the Wizards.
You went to the
watch.
game the other night.
Well, yeah, because I got tickets.
Right, but if somebody offered me to, somebody called me today
Yeah,
and
if I'm
said,
going to the game, I'm
gonna
a number one fan for at least those 2 hours or whatever. However long.
That's what
this
I'm
game
saying.
is.
Yeah, but this is well past those 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So now you don't
well, I'm
care
done
again.
with the Cavs, yeah.
You're done. Screw.
Ovi scored again.
I did see that he scored again.
scored
So
again.
he's like, what is he within?
16?
16?
16, yeah.
16 of the record.
I got one question. What's their chances of getting Cooper Flag?
It seems like it's going down with every freaking win. So I'm not. It's not.
Such a typical
that's the bad.
Wizards move.
Well, let me be clear about one thing. If they get him, if they do get whatever it is, the number 1 pick, then he's going to stink. I'm sorry. I don't know how to tell you this. If they don't get him, if they end up with the 6th pick, then he's going to be a great player.
He's going to be the next
just,
logo of the NBA.
What was the name of the guy? Kwame Brown?
Kwame Brown that they took with the number
Michael
1 pick
Jordan
years ago.
took.
Yeah.
The number 1 pick.
And he was great, obviously. He turned out to be a hell of a... it was him and then Eddie Curry. I feel like the 3rd pick that year actually ended up being a good player. Look up who was because it was Kwame Brown and Eddie Curry were 1 and 2, and they both obviously were not what they were hyped to be. But I feel like the 3rd pick that year might have ended up being someone that you look back on and say,
Yeah. Kwame Brown 1, Tyson Chandler. Was number 2.
Oh, he was 2 and Curry was 3?
Curry was 4.
Curry was 4. Okay.
And then number 3 was Pau Gasol.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Curry would have stunk if he was a Wizard.
Shane Battier was 6th.
Shane Battier was a nice NBA, but Gasol is a Hall of Famer, obviously, and Tyson Chandler is in that you don't realize how close he is to being a Hall of Famer.
Really?
Oh yeah. You think of him as having been a nice player.
Where did he play college ball? Was he?
Was he Texas A&M? Was he? Where's Chandler?
He came out of high school.
Yeah, he
came out of high school.
Right. Yeah, he didn't play.
Yes.
DeAndre
Trick
Jordan
question.
was who I was thinking of. That was Texas A&M. But you don't you go back and you're like, wow, Tyson Chandler was really, really good.
You do go back and you say Kwame Brown really sucked.
You never really think about Kwame Brown.
Tony Parker, 28.
How about the
Arenas 31?
How about the bit yesterday where TikTok sent out a push notification that Kevin Durant had been traded to the Timberwolves?
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what?
Would have been.
I know that we got it became a big geopolitical topic about the banning of TikTok, but can we ban TikTok push notifications? Can we do that part? Because I don't think I've ever gotten one that was remotely helpful. And when they sent that out yesterday, people were losing their minds. Like, Durant to Minnesota?
It's like every day's April Fool's.
Oh, my God. Well, most of the time, it's stuff that happened. Like, they're not lying most of the time.
They're just,
most of the time, they're
stuff
saying
that happened like 9 months ago or a year ago.
At least a month ago. At least I actually collect some of them and tweet them to a friend of mine.
Yeah.
It's like
Do you want me to send you one I got 20 minutes ago?
What was it? Oh,
Kyle Shanahan is still trying to figure out what the 49ers are trying to figure out what to do about Devondre Campbell walking off the field. They're not sure what they're going to
do about it. I just don't know how they're going to handle that. It's a fair.
That's a real leadership test.
What are they going to do about that? I got one that was about Travis Kelce going to Taylor Swift's concert, and I was like, that just seems like a strange way to spend the week of the Super Bowl. Like, I feel like maybe the team would probably want him a little bit more locked in than going to a concert. And then there was another one that I got the other day. But it's constant. And then yesterday, for out of nowhere, they just sent one about Durant being traded to the Timberwolves. And everyone looked at their phone like, whoa, what? And there was nothing. There was nothing even close to being legitimate about it. Steve Kerr seemed pretty dismissed. Did you see his press conference about Jimmy Butler? He was like,
I did not watch.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wasn't real excited.
I think we might be parsing.
He's like, I still expect to
but it was
be the 10th seed.
It was kind of dismissive. It was kind of like, I don't really know Jimmy, but we're gonna.
This headline says Steve Kerr issues strong message to Jimmy Butler.
And I don't remember hearing a strong message.
As he admits major problem in Warriors locker room.
It seems like a clickbait. That's a clickbait.
Okay.
Headline. It just seemed more like,
You're telling me essentially sports.com is
yeah. He didn't walk in like, hell yeah, we got Jimmy Butler. Everything's changing now. It was more just like, okay, yeah,
he doesn't seem like
here.
the type of guy that fits there.
I don't know. I mean,
but I don't know what fits
it's worked
there
with
now.
Draymond for a long time, and he's kind of a loose cannon. So I don't know. I mean, again, when you acquire Jimmy Butler, you're acquiring him for a singular purpose. This guy's going to try in the playoffs, and so as long as we get to the playoffs, we might be able to get something out of him. But is he going to help you get to the playoffs? Maybe. Maybe he really likes hanging out with Steph Curry and it makes him try. I don't know. Maybe. But he'll help you if you get in. As long as you get in, you're going to get a boost from him. But you got to do that part on your own. You got to do the part where you get in on your own.
Where are they sitting right now?
10th, I think.
I mean, yeah, that's what I kept saying, so I'm going to say that I'm right.
Right. Maybe I only think that because Griffin kept saying it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the problem.
And how many teams
He's
get in the
TikTok me.
playoffs?
6.
Yeah,
and I mean 10.
No,
yeah.
10. Yes.
10?
It's the 6 are guaranteed a spot in the first round, and then the next 4 have to play in order to get into.
Ooh, they're 11th right now.
Uh-oh.
They are tied with the King. They have the same record as the Kings.
Well, the
They're
Kings
10
gave
and
up.
11.
They gave up. They're waving the white flag, right? They got rid of De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah, I guess that.
Did you see the Wembanyama putback dunk after the Fox missed?
Yeah,
that was. A lot of people brought that up. Like that
seems like a good fit.
Yeah, that
they're going to be a hell of a team.
There's a real chance that they're figuring out the formula.
They are 4 games back, or not even. They're
the Spurs.
Yeah, they're 1.5 back of the Warriors and the Kings.
Yeah, they're definitely not out of it.
Yeah, so they're technically 12 right now, but
yeah, there's a
the
real
Spurs.
Yeah, the Spurs.
Oh, I thought they were in. Okay.
No.
They still know what they're like. They're trying to develop Wemby. And
did any of was there a title contender that actually did anything at the deadline that mattered? Like a team that has a chance, Oklahoma City.
I mean, outside of the Wizards, getting
Boston,
Marcus Smart,
right? I know that's
big
a
defensive pickup there.
That's a good. I'm glad you reminded me. I don't want to be dismissive of that, but like that's the
no.
We like freaking out about all these moves. The only team, could you squint and still think the Mavericks were a title contender?
I mean, when you have Luka on your team, yes.
But you had to squint a little bit on that because they had been struggling.
When are those players going to play in that deal?
So apparently Luka's not going to play till Monday.
Okay, but Anthony Davis last night, they beat the Celtics, the Mavericks, and Davis didn't play.
I don't know when Anthony Davis is going to make his debut, but I don't know why they're waiting till Monday. I guess that's just the injury for Luka that they're waiting until Monday.
He was hurt, I think.
But like there was all these explosive moves, but
the
yet
Lakers?
no, they're not a title contender. What are you out of your mind?
When you have Luka,
okay, that's the best argument that you can make is that like
maybe
Luka
and LeBron,
but that doesn't make them a title contender. It makes them more like and
Mark Williams.
Could they be a wild card to win the West?
Got rid of Dennis Schroeder.
Because Luka goes off, right? Like, but they're not. The Lakers, as constructed, are not as dangerous as the Mavericks were a year ago.
That Williams that they picked up, that's the guy from Duke, right?
Mark
the Lakers picked up
Mark Williams. Yeah.
That's the guy I wanted the Wizards to take when they took Johnny Davis.
Well, Johnny Davis worked out great, man. What are you talking about? Johnny Davis is a hell of a player. What do you?
He's this side of Kwame Brown.
You're out here disparaging Johnny Davis, the legend Johnny Davis.
Yeah.
They had to put out a tweet yesterday, like a thank you, because that's the thing that all the teams have to do now. They don't just do it for like real players; they got to do it for everybody.
So he was let go.
No, they gave up on Johnny Davis.
Yeah.
They said that thanks, but no thanks, and they had to put out like a tweet.
Didn't he do that ad for Taco Bell or something
Johnny
like
Davis.
that? Johnny Davis.
Good for him.
I don't
He
remember
made as much
that,
money as he could.
Can I be honest with you?
Before he was drafted.
I don't remember. I'm not saying that they didn't. Oh no,
and then he did a spot for that law firm down in D.C.
You're more locked in on the
you
DC
are
market.
You are paying way. Stan's watching the games, baby.
This is like 4 years ago.
I don't.
I always liked Mark Williams.
Well, you're a big Duke guy.
Yeah, you like Duke. I think that doesn't. But yes,
sorry for liking the team.
The Wizards. Yeah. The Wizards had to send out a thank you, Johnny Davis.
Thank you, Johnny.
Did that just
what?
Did that just make it on TikTok?
Thank you for what?
Well, I'll get a notification in about 2 months.
But it's objectively hilarious because teams used to do like they would send the emotional like tweets out when a player would leave that like really now because then somebody would say, well, is that disrespectful that you didn't do it for that person? So they have to send it out to guys that are footnotes that no one has any positive feelings about whatsoever, and they have to go through that. Oh God. They had to send that out about Johnny Dave. Oh, you got to call him. Do you have his number? Do you? You tell me if you need it.
Are we doing that right now, or are we doing it in 5 minutes?
No, we're doing it now. That was the Paul Cantabene is going to join us from Stevenson here in just a second. Yeah, nothing at the deadline itself that was particularly significant. Like just a bunch of explosive shuffling of the deck chairs is what the trade deadline ended up being. Like some really famous guys get moved, but nothing that really this year changes anything. You really are all over the Johnny Davis Taco Bell commercial.
It was before he was drafted.
I believe you. I just don't.
I said, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah, I don't.
And then Wizards drafted him.
Probably what helped get him drafted.
Right?
You know? They're like Taco Bell.
I have no memory of it whatsoever.
The Wizards had visions of them putting a Taco Bell stand in Johnny Davis's house.
The way that they did Justin Jefferson, right?
No, what's his name? Davante Adams.
I thought it was Justin.
It's Davante Adams.
It's Davante Adams in the
yeah.
With the Taco Bell? Yeah, Davante Adams.
Why did I think it was Justin Jefferson?
He does something. He might also do a Taco Bell, but he doesn't have a Taco Bell in his house.
Okay.
At least not yet.
But not like Johnny
Next
Davis' Taco Bell.
Yeah, going to work on that for the next one. Make sure that happens. God, yeah. So it's so long, Johnny Davis. They hardly knew ye in D.C.
What a bad pick.
It was not a good pick. You can't get me to care. I don't care about the Wizards. I'll never care about the Wizards. I mean, like
I'm frustrated by the Wizards.
They did I guess Carmelo Anthony did an event in Bel Air last weekend, and the Banner did a story about it, and he was like, I still think it would make sense for there to be like Wizards games in Baltimore. I'm like, we tried that. Like they did that. They did that bit. This city you can't get people in D.C. to care about the Wizards. You sure as hell can't get anybody in this city to care about the Wizards, except every now and then Griffin and maybe every now and then Stan. If they drafted more Duke players, then maybe
tickets are $1. I'll care.
Yeah, right.
That Cooper Flag.
Then Stan's
the Wizards will be a hot ticket.
Then Stan's all in. But you can't get people in this city to care about the Wizards.
The way the NBA works, Cooper Flag will end up with the Sacramento Kings or something like that. Some team that just misses the playoffs gets a chance at that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Probably the case. But yeah, they try to do like an exhibition Wizards game in Baltimore. You don't care about
the regular
season games. Yeah. At least again, the opposing player might be able to draw. I remember being a kid and saying to my dad, like, "Hey, look at Glenn Robinson's coming to Baltimore. I want to go see I want to go see the big dog, right? Like,
big dog.
Are the Magic coming to Baltimore? I'll go see Penny and Shaq. Like, we would look at that when the schedule was announced, but it certainly wasn't to go see at the time the Bullets. Like, we weren't doing it for that.
Remember the hockey game? The Capitals played
the ice was a disaster.
But
that, like, again, part of the problem was the arena. Even with the arena being upgraded and being like you can't. This town is not going to go out for a Washington Wizards preseason game. That's not going to happen. Would maybe go to a regular season game, but the Wizards aren't giving those up. They own all the. They're not just going to sign up.
Right. To have 5,000 less people or
and
8,000
and fewer boxes and fewer hospitality ability.
Right.
They're not doing
that.
Well,
this season they won't get that much less, but yeah.
Fair, but they still have all the hospitality, and that part does matter the most to them. It's not happening. So there's nothing there.
That ship has sailed.
We're just screaming about things for the sake of screaming about them. This city doesn't want preseason basketball. The one time they did it, that it had a little bit of interest, it was because it was the Knicks, and Carmelo Anthony agreed to play in that game because it was in Baltimore. And then it was Carmelo Anthony coming back to Baltimore, and there was a little bit of buzz about the idea of Carmelo Anthony playing a basketball game in Baltimore. How are you replicating that? What is the comp to that? Bub Carrington's a nice player. He ain't Carmelo Anthony.
Yes.
Thank you. Cam Whitmore is a nice player. He is not thought of like Carmelo. There is no way to replicate that. Short of Derek Queen becoming a massive star in the NBA in the next 5 years, you can't pull that off. It's just not. It's not happening. It's not going to occur. Let's just go ahead and do Tidbit right now, and I'll figure out what's going on.
All right, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. I'm going to let you know what Tidbit is brought
Oh, yeah.
to
Tidbit is brought to you by the CIAA tournament.
Of course
right?
it is. Baltimore is welcoming the excitement of the Food Line CIAA men's and women's basketball tournament to CFG Bank Arena. February 25th through March 1st, less than 3 weeks away now. Get your tickets. They are available. Ticketmaster.com. Again, February 25th through March 1st for the Food Line CIAA men's and women's basketball tournament at CFG Bank Arena.
All right, we'll talk to Paul, and then we'll do Tidbit then. All right, that's what we'll do. Fine. We should maybe as a coach, I'm going to ask him as a coach what he would do, how he would handle this situation. If somebody was late, what would he?
He would fine them.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't think he would fine them because they're
That's right. You can't fine them.
That's not really an option. All right, the season gets underway tonight, 5 o'clock over at Mustang Stadium for Stevenson as they take on Ohio Wesleyan. Joining us now, he is by the way, tonight he's going for win number 250 of his career. He's Paul Cantabene, and he is back with us now here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn. Stan the Fan is here with me today. It's always good to catch up. Thank you for taking the time for us.
No problem. How you guys all doing?
Good, Paul. How you doing?
Good, Coach.
Well,
let me just. I think a lot of people remember the last year, the tragic passing of Callum Robinson, and you guys and your team, and how you celebrated and had this great run to a conference title and into the NCAA tournament. Can you tell us a little bit of anything about how you plan to continue to honor Callum this season?
Yeah, we have a few things in mind. That's such a terrible tragedy, but we wanted to make sure that we live on with Caleb's name throughout forever and working with his foundation. So we have a few things going on with the school and his foundation, some alumni that want to do some things, and we hope to be able to announce some of those things very shortly, but we're working on them. But, we're going to have some members on our helmets for him and everything like that, but we hope to announce some bigger things coming up here very shortly.
That's really cool. Coach, that winning the title a year ago, sort of ending the drought, getting a win in the NCAA tournament, and bringing back as much of the offense as you do this year, all of the goal scorers and points getters from a year ago, do you feel like the trajectory maybe is back? Like this is who we expect to be, and this is who we're going to be again moving forward?
Well, I certainly hope so. I think offensively we've been very blessed to have some guys for a little while, and then back that in with some younger guys now that we think are going to be pretty good to help us in the future. So, having the guys back, we're very excited about that, and we hope that continues. Guys like Grant Zick and Jack Scalati and Hearing and Gosson and Curtis and all those Max Rasic. And, I think we have a lot of weapons, and we added one or two this year. Taz Delaney, who's a very good player that transferred from Towson and was a JUCO College Player of the Year. And so we've added a few good pieces as well. So we're excited to see what we do. I think we're really unselfish on the offensive end, and so excited to see what they do. But, our offense has to be our best defense, I think, this year, since we're so young at that end of the field.
I was going to get there.
I was getting there. Where are you defensively and at goal?
Yeah, so, we're going to start a sophomore goalie, a transfer from Catholic named Tyler Merchant. So he had a really good fall for us and played pretty good in the spring so far and has done well. And we'll start 2 freshman defensemen, and Cody Hitchcock from Southern High School and Dom Jennings as well, who's excellent. And so we got a couple good guys there. We'll start a sophomore and Cam Miller, who's had a great year as a freshman. We just had some guys that were in front of him, so he'll start. We'll start a sophomore at Pole from transfer, and Nick Lehan will be there. And then, we have some guys back we missed a year ago, Eskander Ben Assad, who missed them, so we hope that he's going to be good to go for today. And then we have some injuries and some guys that we know are going to help us that are out right now. But I like who we have. But our best position really defensively is our midi D position. We have 4 really good midi Ds, and Brendan McNeely and Robbie Vanderglaalt and Carter Greer, and a couple freshmen that we really like, and a couple guys also back like Jack McKenna and a couple other guys we like fill in the mix there really well. So, they're young, but I think we're a lot faster than we were a year ago. Last year we were kind of big, experienced, and kind of slow. This year we're kind of young, not as experienced, but really fast and could do some things that maybe those guys couldn't.
Can I ask this generically, not specifically about this team, but generically as a coach? Would you rather be younger and more inexperienced offensively to start a season, or younger and more inexperienced defensively? It's like which side can catch up quicker, I guess, is the way that I'm asking the question.
Good question.
Well, I think the defense can always catch up quicker. Because sometimes I think it's just easier to fit in defensively a little bit. I think offensively it can be a little harder at times. So. I always like to be. I think you can catch up defensively a lot quicker than you can offensively. So if you're not that good offensively, you're probably not going to be that good offensively for the year. If you're not that good defensively, you can always get better throughout the year. So we'll see. And I think Tim Paulson, my defense coordinator, does an outstanding job with those guys. But we have an athletic group. We're really, really fast, and hopefully our good offense can be our best defense early on.
Paul, I know any good coach is mostly concerned with just getting the maximum they can out of their team. But do you look around the conference that you play in and sort of measure yourself where you think you fit in right now?
Oh, well, I think we measure conference-wise, we measure nationally-wise. We want to be a top 10 team, top 5 team. That's our goal. We're not there preseason yet, but I think we have the ability to get there by the end of the year. And, we played a tremendously tough schedule this year with a lot of great teams. And I think our conference has also gotten better. Like York's going to be pretty good, I think, a lot better than people think. I think Messiah is going to be very good. They had a good team last year offensively. They've added some pieces. And so I think our conference is going to be pretty tough as well, with 3 or 4 pretty decent teams in it than the past. But, we're always trying to measure ourselves nationally. That's where we want to be. That's where we were. At one point, this program was never ranked out of the top 3 for 5 straight years. Now, we want to get back to that. But, things change, and we're just trying to adjust to what the recruiting's like and what the school wants and all those things to kind of get back to where we want to be.
Paul Cantabene is with us. Again, the season begins for Stevenson tonight against Ohio Wesleyan, 5 o'clock. I learned what the word preponed means because it was supposed to be played tomorrow but moved it up to today because of some weather in the forecast to tomorrow. Paul, obviously the position that's nearest and dearest to your heart is the faceoff dot, and you have had some truly great ones over the years. I know a year ago, maybe not at the level that perhaps you'd want it. Where's your confidence in that group going into this year?
Well, I thought we were actually pretty good at that last year. I know Connor Halfland had a great year for us, around 65%. We just lost him in the quarterfinals. That's the semifinals of the MAC tournament. So that was really unfortunate. So we had to rely on 2 freshmen for the rest of the year, and that hasn't played a whole lot. So I think that hurt us a little bit at the end of the year last year. But I think going into this year, we got those guys are back, and we got some really young guys, and especially Connor Dune, who's a great player at St. Paul's, and I think transferred here, played football for a year, now concentrating on lacrosse. I think he'll have a great year, and I think there are other younger guys that we have will give us something. But I think we always operate the face-off unit as a full unit. Our wing guys, everybody's involved with that, and so I think we coach those guys up tremendously well. And so we'll be young there as well, but I think that those guys are eager to be good, and I think the effort they give us day in and day out is great. And we just need 50-50 out of the face-off position this year. We get 50-50, we'll have a pretty good year.
I like the sounds of that. All right, you mentioned the schedule. Do you ever think about it? Do you ever say, like, maybe we don't? Maybe we ease up this year. Maybe this year we try to go get these guys some wins and build the – you ever think about that at all, or is it just always going to be this way?
Oh, I think it's just always going to be this way. We've been lucky enough in my 20 years here to win 274 games since I've been here. And so I think, we've been playing this schedule, so I think we're going to continue to do that. I know a lot of teams with the NPI now are changing their schedules to play, play the best team in a weaker conference to get their numbers up and everything. But we just like who we play. I think playing teams like Ohio Wesleyan, playing teams like Muhlenberg, playing CNU and Salisbury and St. Lawrence and Gettysburg and Dickinson and Lynchburg, and Salisbury, and all those teams help us. So we like to play those teams, and not play the lower teams and teams we'll beat. We want to play the best out there to compare ourselves, get us ready for conference play and hopefully NCAA play.
Paul, it's not shocking to me because we've been around 19 years now, press box, and I used to hang out there quite a bit when we first started. 20 years. When you took this job, did you think this was a job you'd be at 20 years down the road? And do you still enjoy it every bit as much as you did back then?
Absolutely not. If I told you I was going to be here 20 years ago, that I would have been lying to your face. There's no way I would have thought that. But, Stevenson has taken great care of me for those 20 years. And I think it's, that's why I've been as loyal to them as I've had chances to leave and go other places. But loyalty is one of my biggest core values that I believe in, and they've taken care of me through that time and my family through that time. And I think we've done things here that have set the example for other D3 programs and throughout the country to do what we do, how we run our program, the things that we run, like the Mustang Classic, how we schedule. Now, a lot of teams do that. The JV thing we did, and a lot of teams do that now. So we've really done a great job, I think, on showing other people how to run their programs for what we've done over the years, and we're really proud of that. And I think we do a great job with our guys, and we've graduated tremendous young men, and the men of Stevenson have been. I'm so proud of what they've done and everything. So we like what we do here. It's been a great ride. I've been lucky enough to have the same assistant for 20 years in Tim Paulse. That just doesn't happen anywhere. But I think that continuity through the years has really made us what we are, and we try to do the best we can each year. Make kids do the impossible. They just got to believe they can do it, and that's what we try to instill in them each and every day so we can be successful. And then when they leave here, they're successful human beings in life as well.
It all starts tonight, 5 o'clock, over at Mustang Stadium, or Mustang Beach, as Coach likes to call it. As Stevenson,
the beach, baby.
The
beach,
takes
no doubt.
On Ohio Wesleyan. Coach, look forward to seeing you over there. Appreciate you as always, man. We'll talk soon, all right?
Hey, Glenn, you're not gonna,
you want to talk about MVP? All right, go ahead. Go ahead. You feel good about it? We're all in Cancun together, baby. That's where we are.
I'm just saying, I got my Josh Allen jersey here. Just be, nice if you just acknowledge that, and it's just saying, Glenn, just acknowledge it. It's okay. You can say it.
I am happy for you. I'm happy for you. But acknowledge the same thing to me. It feels just as empty as it felt for Ravens fans the last couple of years for your guy to get MVP, but you're sitting there watching the Chiefs play in the Super Bowl again.
That's a fact.
That's
no
the
doubt.
tough part about this. Is that,
I fully admit
we
that.
all
have a great one, guys.
All right, buddy. Love you. Appreciate you.
Bye.
That's Paul Cantabene. He's a number one. He's a Rochester guy. He's a number one Bills fan.
I know.
He sent me some. We were having some fun conversation the week of the playoff game.
Terrific coach.
Hell of a coach.
And I understand. I never saw him play, but
he was
I understand was the greatest face-off
He was the greatest
guy.
face-off specialist of all time, bar none. No debate about that whatsoever. Was as good as it got at the face-offs.
It's not like a Bobby Abreu discussion.
And by the way, that was an era where you didn't have specialists either. Like you were a midfielder.
Right.
You just happened to be the one that took the face-offs. My God, was he good at it? Jesus Christ, was he good at that? All right, go ahead, Griffin. You were going to tell us about the tidbit.
Yes, I was. So the 2024 NFL season saw a quarterback that threw for 4,000 yards, and he rushed for 900 yards. First time ever that a quarterback has done that. Also the first season that has ever had seen a quarterback that threw for 40 passing touchdowns, fewer than 5 interceptions. First time a quarterback's ever done that. Also had a quarterback that had a 119.6 passer rating, 4th best single season in NFL history. That was actually all the same guy.
Oh, right? Was it Lamar Jackson?
It was Lamar Jackson.
That's weird, but
he didn't
wasn't
win any
MVP
award for it.
of the league. That's something.
So that happened last night as Josh Allen did win MVP. If anyone cares, John Madden would have voted for Lamar Jackson. If
what?
So Brian Burke on Twitter, he put together this chat bot that can settle any sports debate. So I asked it what John Madden would vote for MVP, and he said, "Boom, Lamar Jackson is who he would vote for." Okay. Brenda Freese picked up win number. If anyone stuck around after Maryland lost,
it was a blowout, dude.
Yeah,
it was never close.
They made it look easy as Brenda Freese picked up win number 600 in her Maryland coaching career, 657 in her career. So Brenda Freese, big win for
she's good.
The Lady Terps. Yeah, she's not bad. She's all right. She's all right.
Keep her.
And then we had no first ballot Hall of Famers. There has been 26 first ballot Hall of Famers since 2010. This is only the third year that no first ballot guys got into the Hall of Fame. I was going to figure out a way to.
So the first ballot was Kuechly, Vinatieri, and Manning, and
Suggs and Yanda. Yes, yeah, those five. Those five were up. So I was going to try to figure out a way to ask you, but I don't know what year I should make the cutoff. I don't know. Can you name the one first ballot guy from last year?
No, I can't.
Why not?
I don't remember who got in last year.
Are you trying to say the Hall of Fame doesn't count? Doesn't matter?
No, I just don't remember year to year who got in.
Julius Peppers was the first year.
I do.
Got in last year. 2 years ago was Joe Thomas and Darrell Revis.
Okay, good for me.
And then 2022, no first ballot guys in 2022.
Was last year a thing on like this year? It's Allen. Was last year
there
like
a
a condiments thing?
Well, I don't think there was.
Was a guy named Salt?
I don't think they put DJ Mustard in. No, I don't think
Mustard didn't get in last year?
How about Colonel Mustard?
No, I don't think Colonel Mustard made it either.
Do you want to do a? Well, I have an Antonio Gates,
but Jim Relish did.
Jim Relish.
I'm sure Julius Peppers relished getting into it all.
Antonio Gates very deservingly did get in. He has 116 receiving touchdowns in his career, 7th most all time. Tight end, wide receiver
of any
player, 7th most receiving touchdowns. Who are the 6 guys with more receiving touchdowns?
Randy Moss.
Randy Moss is number 2 all time, 156.
Terrell Owens.
T.O. number 3.
Give me this question.
Antonio Gates has 116 touchdowns. 6 guys in NFL history have more receiving touchdowns all time. So who has the most?
Randy Moss.
We got those. We got Moss and Owens.
Moss, Owens.
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice is number 1, 197. Is that the most unbreakable
How about
record?
the guy, the receiver for the Raiders? Tim Brown.
Tim Brown is 11th. He had exactly 100 touchdowns.
Tony Gonzalez?
Tony Gonzalez is 5 behind Antonio Gates. He is 8th, number 8 all time. For now, because Mike Evans is
how about
at 105.
Charlie Taylor?
No Charlie Taylor.
No Charlie Taylor. How about Harold Carmichael?
A little too far back.
I think it's got to be more modern.
No Harold Carmichael.
How about the guy from the Lions?
Calvin Johnson.
He didn't play
long
enough.
Larry Fitzgerald.
Larry Fitzgerald has 121. He is 6th most all time.
Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison is 5th most all time.
How about Isaac Bruce?
No Isaac Bruce.
Reggie Wayne.
No Reggie Wayne. Isaac Bruce is 15.
Who are we not thinking of?
How many are we missing?
Just one. Missing number 4 on this list. Behind T.O., ahead of Marvin Harrison.
Andre Johnson.
Not Andre Johnson. Andre Johnson sits at...
You already told me it's not Mike Evans.
Yeah, I did tell you it's not
Torrey
Mike
Holt?
Evans. Not Torrey Holtz.
Chris Carter.
Chris Carter, number 4 all time, 130 receiving touchdowns for the Hall of Famer Chris Carter.
Eagles legend, Chris Carter, that is.
That's what he is, Eagles legend?
Eagles legend.
We know who he's rooting for this weekend?
I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's got a poisonous relationship with Philly, but yeah, we'll see. All right, very good. That's that. Now, why don't we get totally tubular for the weekend? I say we do.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, here's what's coming up this weekend, totally tubular-wise. I hear there's some football game on Sunday. I'm not really sure. I'll look into that.
Big game.
Women's lacrosse season gets underway this weekend. Loyola's at Boston College. Navy hosts St. Joe's, 2 and 4 respectively on ESPN Plus today. Nothing really else tonight that matters at all. Tomorrow, Towson Monmouth, 4 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. On ESPN Plus tomorrow, Iona Navy Lacrosse at noon, Maryland Loyola Lacrosse at 1, Georgetown Hopkins Lacrosse at 1, Navy Lafayette Hoops at 1, Colgate Loyola Hoops at 2, UMBC Maine Hoops at 2. What did UMBC do last night? I don't even know.
Gosh, don't ask. They were up by 16 at one point. They had an 11-point lead with 10 minutes to go. They lost.
Sounds a lot like another team that played last night.
Yeah,
sounds an awful lot like the team.
Another team I bet on as well. St. Mary's had an 11-point lead late in the second half, and they blew it as well.
Who'd they lose to?
San Francisco.
Oh, my.
At San Francisco.
Oh, my.
Tough barn.
Nice.
But they should have won.
Tough barn. Tough barn, he says. Listen to this guy. That's rough. On Sunday, Rutgers, Maryland, noon on Big Ten Network. The Maryland women take on Washington at 4 on Big Ten Network Plus. And yes, the Super Bowl, they'll go ahead and play it anyway. 6:30 on Fox. The Chiefs and the Eagles. You're gonna keep doing that whole thing. Anything else? There's a UFC fight, right?
Yeah, there is. Oh, this is one of the worst pay-per-view cards I've ever seen
really?
in my life.
What? I don't even remember what it is.
Well, the headline is Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland.
Okay.
That should be a good fight. Zhang Wei Li is fighting. She's an underdog, which doesn't make any sense to me. Zhang Wei Li is trying to defend her belt at a women's strawweight. And the rest of the card, oh my God, it is
big push.
It is bad.
And that's why we're bringing back fighting words.
Oh man, this sport's.
I saw two things I binge watched this week on Netflix. Night Agent 2.
What's that?
Very entertaining.
What is it?
It's kind of like a 24.
Noah Centineo, I think. Yeah.
What's that?
Noah Centineo, I believe is
what?
The lead. The actor's name is Noah Centineo.
He's terrible. He's a terrible actor. But
he's great in Kissing Booth.
Yeah, he's like Reacher light.
Really?
You know, he's not the brightest guy in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's the other one?
The other one was absolutely fantastic. You know the name Dick Wolf?
Yeah, Law and Order.
Law and Order. He's the executive producer of this. It's called On Call. It's on Amazon Prime. It's a half-hour, very intense police drama. It's really, really well done.
All right.
Two unknown actors play, and you know who plays the commanding officer, or like back at the precinct house. She's like in charge. Is Lori Loughlin?
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that we let her.
Yeah, she's back.
So we're back. We're doing
big return.
Yeah. Well, she like paid her dues to society.
Did she actually go to prison? Did she serve time?
I think she did.
I doubt they would.
I think she did.
I doubt she went to prison.
I think she served
I got
couple
confused.
months.
Gabriel Basso is the lead in Night Agent. You don't like Gabriel Basso?
Not particularly.
Noah Centineo is in The Recruit, also on
Actress
Netflix.
Lori Loughlin
this week.
served 2 months.
I
in prison.
thought she did.
Okay.
And well deserved.
Yeah, right?
She deserved her time. And if people don't remember why, she paid to have
to get her
records,
daughter into college.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good mom, sounds
and the female lead in this On Call is very good, very good. And the director, and he plays sort of like the veteran sergeant, is Eric LaSalle. Remember him?
Eric LaSalle. Why?
From like ER.
Oh, wow.
The
that
black
guy.
guy.
I do remember that guy.
Very
yeah.
good. He's very good.
Wow, okay.
And he directs a bunch of the episodes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
It's only like 6 or 8 episodes, and each episode is it's 8 episodes, 30 minutes each, and it's very, very well done.
Remind me what it's called again?
On Call.
Yeah,
On Call. All right. Very good.
Tatiana Suarez, by the way, is who Zhang Wei Li is fighting. So you can tell
I-
who my pick is.
I was not going to be able to sleep until I knew that.
Which means Zhang Wei Li is probably going to lose, since I'm going to be betting on her. So be advised, everyone out there. There's not a whole lot non-sports wise. There's really like nothing new.
I gave you 2 good things.
New episode of Severance.
non-sports-wise.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. If you stick around after the Super Bowl, The Floor season 3 premiere.
That was very
on Fox.
dismissive of me.
We live in.
Thanks, Stan. Yeah, thanks.
Well, yeah, I meant it. Sorry, I meant it.
Right.
Stan, thank you. Also, We Live in Time. That's the Andrew Garfield, Florence Pugh movie. That looks very sad.
If you say so.
Streaming on Max as that hits streaming now, piece by piece. Also streaming on Peacock.
Okay.
Francis Pugh's the one
Which
that
I heard was good.
used to go out with the
Florence
guy.
Pugh.
Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
Went out with what's his name from the who's the 2 actors? The phone commercials. The one with John Travolta, and they've got Jason Momoa. The 2 actors from Scrubs.
Zach Braff and
Zach Braff.
Did Florence Pugh date Zach Braff?
Yeah, for a long time.
I didn't know that.
Long time.
I thought they were a little off in age.
They did.
How about that? Okay.
I mean, the TikTok sent out a.
Thank you. Appreciate.
Apparently,
you
she's
getting me
dating
caught up.
Charlie Gucci.
When
now.
is
Charlie's
White
most
Lotus?
recent
When do the real shows come back? When do we get
next
White
week,
Lotus?
Next week. White Lotus is next week,
and then when's
there's probably something else next week that I'm forgetting.
Reacher's coming back.
Is it really? Not soon. Is it?
Jack Reacher
Right,
3
right.
with
But
that big giant guy.
Alan Richson.
And you know what's coming out this Valentine's Day? The Gorge.
Oh, wow, it is coming back soon. Oh,
You haven't heard about the
What is
Gorge?
the Gorge? I don't know the Gorge.
The Gorge looks very, very
a bunch of what we were watching, whatever, AEW yesterday.
The girl
There was a bunch of
from
commercials.
Queen's Gambit.
Anya Taylor-Joy.
That's Anya Taylor.
She's
okay.
on it, and Miles Teller.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's
Looks fascinating.
Yeah, Reacher season 3 in 2 weeks actually. So cool.
And then when's Righteous Gemstones?
Good. So we got things. That is coming back soon as well.
It is soon, right?
Righteous
we could use some real
How many
television.
seasons that been on?
This is, I think, this is the last one I know.
Yeah, this is the last one.
Gemstones.
Great show.
March 9th.
Absolutely phenomenal.
Is what's his name fantastic in it? The
Goodman
He's
or
Bound and Down.
Oh, Danny McBride. They're all that cast.
Danny McBride.
And look, Danny McBride, Walter Goggins, and Edie Patterson had all worked together before on Vice Principals.
Right.
The three of them are gold, and then John Goodman was the perfect foil for. I mean, that show is.
Look up when we
aces.
sign off, though. Put the Gorge.
I
the
just
trailer.
I just looked it up. Griffin's right. I did see
really
it.
interesting.
I'm familiar.
Right, so we'll be able to get through these non-football months. All right, good.
Well, for a little while anyway. Then
But hopefully it takes us to baseball.
Yeah,
you know,
we'll see.
That Gorge is different from the Stan Charles career story.
Oh, is that what that's called? Is the Gorge? I didn't realize that.
I was working. It's ironic. I was working on my autobiography, The Gorge.
All right, that's it. Thanks today to Stan, of course. Thanks to Peter Schmuck. Thanks to Paul Cantabene. And to Eric Hayes. We'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the
Can You Take Me Higher?
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com.
Duke doesn't suck.
No, I'm going to
Stan, I
strong
got news.
disagree.
Yeah.
The bat around this week, Sunday. Not tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, 10 a.m. with Paul. And then we'll, of course, be back on Monday, and we'll start transitioning into out of football season and into all the segments that you love so much, like, fighting words. And
What's there, about a 2-week break from the Super Bowl to when is the
Combine?
The Combine, like in 4
about
weeks after that?
It starts the last Thursday of February, so 27th.
We'll be bringing back this week.
We're going to the Combine this year, actually. So.
We'll be bringing back this week and the rest of baseball. We'll be
Ah.
bringing back those things.
When are the Whip Snakes going to pick up?
Well, we got the championship series. Yeah,
I think we're going to be doing some Whip Snakes coverage next week. I think we'll be doing that. All right. Thanks to everybody at Pressbox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including the Costas Inn, Live Casino and Hotel, Cruise Maryland, Crown Trophy, Easy Pass, as well as the CIAA Tournament, Brigance Brigade, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, MSAA, Maryland Sports, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great weekend. Go all the local hoops and lacrosse teams. I do kind of need the Chiefs to get the job done, but not score a lot of points. Duke sucks.